They started digging up Arlington.
Hi, how y'all doing? Michael?
By there this morning.
I believe we're standing.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the March 19th, 2015 Town of Poughkeepsie Planning Board meeting. Please join me in the salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now, I understand, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, this is restaurant week in the town or around the area? Is that true?
Those are on the agenda too.
Huh?
We have an agenda.
We have our own restaurant week tonight. 4 of our applications have to do with food. We have the Golden Corral, we have Taco Bell, we have Burger King, and we've got Hardee's.
Well,
So
Dahlia might
guarantee
have-
you're going to leave here hungry. Not fed, but probably hungry. So at any rate. We have 2 public hearings this evening. The first one is Arlington Farms, Malabar Realty, Inc., to be adjourned at the applicant's request. It was a site plan hearing for a proposed demolition of the existing structure on the site and construction of a 1-story gas station convenience store, 4,500 square feet, with a gas canopy and 6 pumps, 798 Dutchess Turnpike and 219 over Rocker Road, Zone BH Highway Business, 0.81 acres. Negative declaration was adopted February 19th, 2015, Malabar Realty owners. And I move that the planning board adjourn the public hearing to April 16th, 2015, in accordance with the applicant's request.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. We adjourn the public hearing until April 16th, 2015. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3, 4, 5, 6 to 0. 6 to 0. So if anyone was here for that Arlington Farms, that won't be on this evening. The public hearing will be next month, third Thursday in March. Second, we have Dahlia Site Plan, secret review, recommendation to Town Board for rezoning and site plan hearing for proposed rezoning of 5 parcels from R20 Residence Single Family 20,000 square feet to RM Residence Multifamily and Senior Housing Overlay District known as the SHOD, and subsequent site plan approval for 4 senior housing and 2 mixed-use buildings, total of 84 dwelling units and 10,124 square feet non-residential, give or take. Sophia's Way and Violet Avenue, lots 35 Violet Avenue, zoned R20 residence, single family, 20,000 square feet, 7.1 acres. On listed action, Linda E. Dahlia, owner.
Good evening. I'm Kelly Leibel with KRC Planning.
And I'm Scott. We met with LRC Engineering.
I have a presentation tonight on the computer, so I wasn't sure if he's able to get the, there we go. Cue the slide. Do you want me to turn the lights off?
Okay, why is there all
Carol, I'll get him.
I'm swimming in paper. I didn't even bring my last letter. Okay.
There we go. Okay. I always like to start this project with an overview of the process, and then I'll go into the details of the project, only because, if you recall, this is somewhat of a complicated project in the sense that it goes back and forth between the town board and the planning board and back to the town board. So again, I'll just start with the process, and then I'll get into the project. So this application, we made a submission to the town board because we're seeking the SHOD designation and site plan approval, the SHOD being the Senior Housing Overlay District. We then had a fairly detailed review by the town board. So before this application even came to the planning board, it was reviewed by the town board as far as appropriateness and so forth, and then it was referred over to the planning board to act as the lead agency for seeker. So the planning board has been conducting their seeker review, and of course tonight we have the public hearing. So those are the actions that have been completed. This is what's left. So we still have to go through our seeker determination. After that's completed, we go, again, ping-ponging sort of back to the town board, and then they'll again review this application for appropriateness of the SHOD designation. They'll review that and have their own public hearing. Then again, we come back to the planning board, and that would conclude the project. The property is located on Violet Avenue. It's approximately 7 acres. It's adjacent to, this is the VW building, which is just below it. So that's a good marker. This is the site layout. And I'm just showing you this in the beginning, and then I'm going to go through each of the buildings in detail. But it's, we'll just get started. It's 84 dwelling units, the total of 6 buildings. The buildings are 3 stories. There is approximately 10,000 square feet of non-retail space, and if everyone remembers that non-retail definition, but I can go through it again. Of that 10,000 square feet, approximately 2,125 is a senior center. So that's the interior space, and then there's also an exterior space that I'll show you later. And approximately 114 parking spaces. There's 3 clusters of buildings, but they're all very different. So I'll start with the front. So buildings A, B, C, and D are the 4 that are in the front. These units contain 3 stories of dwelling units. The first story in all 4 of these buildings are flats. So it's a 1-story unit that's accessible by the ground level. The second and third story is 1 unit. So you would walk up and enter your unit on the second floor. You'd have your main living area on the second floor, and in general, the third floor would be the bedrooms and any extra space. So again, in all 4 of these buildings, first floor is a flat, second and third is 1 unit, so it's a 2-story unit on top. Buildings E and F in the back are, again, 3-story buildings. They're all 1-story units each, and all of these have elevators. Again, I'll go through each of these buildings individually. So I'm going to start with the front. Building A is approximately 4,800 square feet. 4,000 of this is, if you remember, non-retail space, and then there's 7 total units in this building. Building B is nearly identical. It's 4,800 square feet, 4,000 square feet of non-retail, and 7 units. Our entrance is proposed adjacent to that existing commercial building. We actually met with New York State DOT today regarding this entrance, and we're preparing our submittal application for them for the review and the permit for this. Now we move to the back of the site. Building C is approximately 4,300 square feet, and there's 9 units, so this building is completely residential. Building D is 6,400 square feet. Again, there's a 2,125 square foot senior center in here, and there's a total of 11 units. And this is where the senior center is. So since we saw you last, I think that size of that grew, so it's appropriately reflected on this plan. There's some interior space, and then I'll show you on the elevations. It's very nicely laid out with sliding doors that goes out to the outdoor patio. So it's an indoor-outdoor area for the seniors. We're also proposing over on the side an emergency entrance. If you recall, this application was previously part of a subdivision approval that you approved several years ago. The applicant had gone so far as to putting in this connector road, which was going to be the main point of access for the site. So this again will be for emergency purposes only. We have met with the fire department and reviewed this, and they believe that that's an appropriate alternative access. There'll be some sort of gate or bollard system there just to ensure that there isn't main vehicular traffic going through there, and it'll be just for emergency vehicles. Right now, that driveway's open. The owner puts little barriers there because sometimes it's frequently used for people to just go back and sort of hang out. So we put barriers there to keep people from going through that dead end. And then now I'm to the back of the site, so the last 2 buildings. So building E is approximately 8,400 square feet, 23 units. Again, this is a 3-story building. Building F, 9,600 square feet, and there's 27 units in this building. This is just a very quick overview of the bulk regulations, and of course, all of this is in the application that you have. But again, if you recall, we are seeking a zone change from the R20 and the application of the SHOD overlay district. So I just wanted to do a quick comparison so you could see that the SHOD actually requires greater restrictions as far as building setback and coverage. The max height is nearly identical. Under the R20, there's virtually no landscaping buffer, and under the SHOD, there's a 30-foot landscaping buffer. So we're adhering to all the bulk requirements. The rear yard setback is required to be 50 feet. We're showing 65, and are well within the maximum coverage for the impervious area. This is the building configuration, and again, there's more details in the application that I gave you, but I just wanted to do a quick summary today. So this is just a comparison of the total units, the accessible units, and the walk-up units. And when I say accessible units, I mean ADA accessible. When I say walk-up units, those are the units that you would require to walk upstairs to get into the main unit. So Building A has a total of 7 with 1 accessible unit, and that's the one, obviously, that's on the ground floor that I showed earlier. Building B is identical. Building C and D are the middle buildings in the back. So there's 9 units total, 3 that are accessible, and then the 6 would be the second and third story units. Building D, a total of 11, 3 are accessible again on the ground floor, with 8 on the top being walk-up. Buildings E and F are 100% accessible, so again, those are the 2 buildings in the back that have the elevators. There was a discussion at the last planning board meeting, and so I just wanted to answer the question that had to do with accessibility and whether or not we were required to provide 100% accessibility. So I did ask the architect to provide me with a quick paragraph and information on this issue. So we're not required to have 100% of the buildings accessible according to ADA, so I'm just talking strictly about regulations. So as long as every building has an accessible unit on the ground floor, we meet the ADA requirements. Again, where there's no elevator service, I put the section of the code here, only the dwelling and sleeping units that are located on the lower level are required to be ADA accessible. And I have some more slides later that we can talk about this a bit more. We did that. Sorry, I went up. Okay, so I'm going to move on to site recreational amenities. So there's a lot of work that's gone into creating the recreational amenities that are on the site. I had previously indicated to you that I had met with County Planning, with Ann Saylor and John Clark before my last presentation. We again met with them. We've received numerous studies from them that we've reviewed with respect to age-restricted housing and recreational uses. So I call, there's 3 separate areas here. So you have the eastern area, the center space, and the western area. These have been, again, modified and amended based on the conversations that we've had with them, and I can detail this later or answer any questions that you have. So I'll start with the eastern area. In this area, we do have a mix of residential and non-retail space. So what we've tried to create is in the center cluster, there's a walking path. There's a sitting area. The curved retaining wall is supposed to be a sitting wall, and it actually adjusts for a grade difference on the site. We'll obviously have Wi-Fi in this area, outdoor reading activities, and it could also be used by the non-retail space for any outdoor services that they wanted to provide. There's a sidewalk that we have that's a curvilinear sidewalk along 9G that would, again, tie to the balance of the site. Then moving on to the center space, which is where the senior center is. So we have the indoor-outdoor senior center. There's a sitting area with tables, chairs, umbrellas, Wi-Fi, outdoor reading activities would be common in this area. We have a community garden, which, again, County Planning really urged us to try to do. I'll go into that a little bit more later. Outdoor trellis for growing things on as well, and the bocce court, which also could be a flexible area that someone could use for yoga or other type of exercise activities. Possible uses of the senior center or activities, some of the things that we were urged to try to consider again by County Planning are a variety of classes, computers, cooking. We want to do an expanded kitchen in here, something where people could potentially take classes on cooking, on how to cook for smaller groups of people when you have families and you're going to only 2 people. College courses either online or here, resident events, library, book club, Wi-Fi, and movies. And these are all things that we were encouraged to try to propose from our meeting on county planning. And then to the back area, again, quiet sitting area. We're really trying to focus this area as being more of a quiet area. Benches, tables, Wi-Fi, outdoor reading, again, more community gardens, the bocce court or shuffleboard court or some flex space in the back. We also are making a connection. This may seem like a very de minimis addition to the site, but I actually think it's pretty important. One of the things that John Clark had really encouraged us to do was to make a connection to that subdivision that's next to us, because it's a great road network for people to walk or ride bikes on. And we actually have created a little sidewalk that curves around the bollard or the gate system there so people can easily access that connector road. John Clark had suggested one of the new things that they're seeing are these lockers for bikes. So we're considering using something like this. I haven't really figured out where would be the most appropriate location, but it's a great idea because people lose garages when they go from a single-family house into a facility like this. And if they can have a place where they could store their bikes, they can continue to bike and use that as a source of recreation. So we'll do some further research on that. There is a walking path throughout the whole site, mostly concrete sidewalks, and then we do have the stone dust path throughout the back of the site. Okay, we'll move on to site landscaping. So this is just an aerial photograph of the existing site, and the reason that I'm showing it to you is I just want to show you that there has been some plantings that were made by the applicant as part of the prior subdivision approval, and so we're going to enhance and further substantiate those. The town councilman for this area, Councilman Safone, actually met with many of the neighbors and talked about landscaping and screening, and so we've taken in a lot of those comments and certainly want to work with the neighbors and provide some additional landscaping, possibly a fencing for security for our residents, security for their residents, and also to add some additional screening. So here's some of the photos just to try to provide you with an idea of how big the trees are that are there. And there's a car on the one photo on the bottom, so you can get a sense of how large they've grown. Some of them have died, so there is some holes in the screening, mostly in the back here. I went out there the other day and saw that some of the trees had died, so we'll enhance some of those. Okay, so on-site landscaping. This would be our landscaping plan. So for those, I know you probably have to turn around, but everything on the plan that we're showing is proposed, but this is the existing landscaping there now. So we're going to provide really some additional sort of level of screening here. In that area, we're also interested in trying to put some sort of a fence. Again, we'd like to talk to the neighbors since it would be something that would be shared by both sides and see what their feeling is on that. There's fairly extensive landscaping that we're hoping to maintain in the back, and so this is a fairly well vegetated area, and this is the area that we provided a larger landscape buffer. And then of course on the one side of the site we have this is the wetland. This is the boring slide, but I have to show it, so sorry for all you engineers, but this is just the utilities. So we are tying into the existing, sorry, Joe, the existing sanitary sewer. The applicant, again, as part of the prior application, did bring sewer into the site and did bring water into the site. So we will be connecting to those existing services, and I know Morris Associates is reviewing that. As far as stormwater is concerned, we have prepared a fairly significant drainage plan. All of the stormwater in the back of the site will be discharged on site through either porous pavement or rain gardens or some other mechanism. The area in the front of the site, which is this area just right along 9G, will be a series of rain gardens that will discharge into the state DOT system, and a small area of the entrance road here that really just grades back to 9G will discharge into the DOT system. And we did review that today with DOT, and we'll be getting them our drainage plan as well for their review. So I want to talk about phasing, and it's important to talk about, but it also ties into some of the conditions of the SHOD approval. So if you recall, there is a density bonus under the SHOD project. And so if you provide, I think it's 10,000 square foot of non-retail space, our project was allowed an additional 14 units to be built on the site. And so there's been a lot of dialogue back and forth about, well, how do you make sure that you build the residential units and the commercial space isn't converted to residential units as well. And I think our phasing plan that we had originally proposed was somewhat backwards. So after meeting with the town and so forth, we determined that the best way to build this site is actually from the back to the front. And it works actually very well because our density is 14 units that we received for this project, or we would receive for this project. And so the front buildings actually have 14 units in it. So it works very well. So by the time we get to the front, all of the residential space would be built, and then the balance would be our density units plus the non-retail space. So I'll go through each of the steps. So phase one, we would build the back buildings first. So those would be E and F. Obviously, we would build the existing roadway network, the sidewalk on the front of the property. All of the utilities would be coming in because they come in through this road. And this connector road would be built because our water connection is actually back here by Sophia's Way. Phase two of the project would be the center units, so that would be B and C. That would also be the community center. So it's fairly nice if you're building from the back to the front, and then that center would be available to everyone as they start to occupy the site. And then last but not least would be buildings A and B in the front, which would be the 14 units and the non-retail space. These are the renderings of the buildings. I also have these drawings here today if someone wants to just look at them after the meeting, but I'll go through each of these. So this is building A and B. These are the buildings that are in the front, so we'll go front to back. The building on the bottom would be the side that faces 9G. That would be the non-retail space, and then the back would be access to those units. This is building C, which is in the middle of the site, nearly identical. Building D is a little bit larger. Reason being is we have, this is the community center over on the side, so you have this little bump out on both sides, and then down here you can see the side of that community center with the sliding glass doors that we have for access onto the patio. And then this would be buildings E and F, which are identical in the back of the site. So one of the things that we actually had a great dialogue with county planning on is what is attractive to seniors for the design of senior housing. And it's an interesting discussion, and we actually, I think, brought it up a little bit at the last planning board meeting. And so when you're talking about senior housing, obviously there's three types of senior housing: there's independent, there's assisted, and there's nursing homes. So clearly here we're talking about independent living. And so you always think, I always use this thing, birds of a feather flock together, but it's not necessarily true in independent living. And the problem is that with independent living, you have such a large age gap in people that they don't actually fit into a single housing type. So you can't have one housing type in a senior housing development. You have to have flexibility. You could have a spouses that one is older and one is younger, or one is more active and one is less active, and so you really want to try to provide flexibility. And that's the message that I got when I met with Ann Saylor and John Clark. So how do you do that? Well, you have to design a site that has creativity and allows people to adapt as they grow older. What usually happens on senior housing is you get a younger crowd that moves in first. They're attracted to the newness of it, the new structures, the ability of people to live together that are nearly the same age group, and then they actually age with the development. So the way that we designed this housing unit, as you know, is from the front to the back. You've got the flats with the two-story units above them, and then as you get to the back of the site, you've got the individual units with the elevator service. So those are all the accessible units in the back. So again, what's attractive to them for recreational amenities? Well, something I really never thought about is that when you go from a single-family house to an apartment, is you lose all those outdoor activities in your garage and the storage and so forth that you had when you were living in a single-family house. So they encouraged us to make sure that those recreational facilities on site are flexible. So again, we'd love to put some bocce courts or shuffleboard courts out there, but they could also be used if they were flexible spaces for other types of exercise, for example, yoga classes. Community gardens are critical for people. They lose their outdoor space when they go from a single-family house to an apartment, and we have numerous gardens there, whether it's fruits, flowers, or fruits, vegetables, and flowers. They're very, very important. And one of the things that Anne had kind of keyed to us was this cool space that's out in California, and so I think people tend to forget about some of the tinkering that men do when they go from a house into a apartment. And so this was a cool idea that I talked to the owner about, and we're going to try to see if there's some way that we can configure it. But what it is it's really like a mimic of a garage. And so there's a garage door that slides up, there's tools inside, there's shelves and so forth. So, guys can continue to tinker and use those tools and build things, and maybe perhaps they could sell them in one of the non-retail spaces next door. So we're going to try to flush this out. Perhaps this is one of the non-retail spaces that's rented to some of the tenants, or we provide this service, but it's something that, we really think was a neat idea. And then, common spaces are really, really important. And so, again, county planning, I hate to keep saying county planning, but they had such great ideas when we met with them. But they're just, ensuring that the outdoor spaces are not necessarily, organized spaces, even the senior center, that it's not regimented and that someone's running it, that the tenants of the building actually be able to use that as they see fit, and try to provide some amenities there, again, that you lose when you move out of that single-family house. So that's my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has, and I do have the boards here if we have to turn the lights on.
Kelly, no basketball courts? What's up with that?
I know. We could, maybe we could make the bocce court a basketball court too.
Who should give him a presentation to? I don't know. That seemed awful personal, didn't it? Okay, thank you, Kelly. Good presentation.
Thank you.
Eric, or Neil, or whoever.
Well, we've worked closely with the consulting planner on this. Why don't we let her present?
Yeah, Liz, I'm sorry. I'm looking over there, I didn't see her.
Anyway, just for the record, on Restaurant Week, there is the potential for there to be a restaurant or two here, so. Anyway, we have some previous comments on site plan that can be addressed at a later point. The planning board tonight may consider the possibility of taking action on their seeker review after hearing public commentary. They may or may not be ready to do that. And also to consider a recommendation on the RM rezoning and the designation of the senior housing overlay district. Not going to repeat things that Kelly said, but I did sort of re-review the materials in the EAF and other reports that provide support for the planning board to consider the RM rezoning and SHOD designation. And a couple of the observations I've made in my review letter dated March 13th is that the proposed development does tend to coincide with the purposes of the RM zoning district and the SHOD zoning district in terms of providing mixed uses and housing. Also, the EAF narrative and tables provided support to address the Poughkeepsie's town plan. There are specific policy recommendations in the Poughkeepsie town plan that have to do with population, housing, walkable service centers near institutions, mixed-use development near existing centers, transportation and pedestrian amenities. So I think there's plenty of support in the application materials for the planning board's consideration. And as I said, we still have comments from February that would be addressed at a later date related to site plan, so.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. I hear a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, open the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Carol, no one signed up to speak at the public hearing?
I think there are people here who would like to.
All righty. Anyone like to speak on this application? Yes, sir. Did you sign up? We have a sign-in
I
sheet.
didn't sign up. I wasn't prepared to speak. I just wanted to hear what was
Huh?
happening.
Got to get on the microphone.
Yeah, I need to take that.
Right here.
No, the one Kelly got her hand there.
Just turned it off. Hold on, I just have to-
State your name and your address, please.
Michael Lamuscio, live at 12 Eugene Court West in town of Poughkeepsie. From the drawings I saw, my shed is right behind some large building right there. I also heard that one of our town councilmen or Mike over here, somebody walked around, talked to the neighbors. I was not talked to. Nobody came to me. It's been going on for a while here now. I thought there was going to be a private house back there. And now this is huge. This is huge. This is a huge, huge impact to my quality of life and my privacy, my own privacy in my backyard. I'm getting ready to retire in probably in a couple of years. The thing that I have is my grandchildren are here. My father comes and visit. The only sense of privacy I have is that backyard. My deck, and I'm speaking off the top of my head right now.
Okay. And we're going to have further public hearings, so you'll have
Okay,
an opportunity.
I'll prepare myself.
Yep.
My deck, I mean, I'm telling you, I'm looking straight down into that property. I mean, I will lose every bit of sense of privacy. You could put a 30-foot fence there. I will not have privacy in that backyard anymore. I've been there almost 30 years. It was the best part of living there was my sense of privacy in this backyard and the neighborhood that we live in. This thing is huge. I am shocked to see what I just saw. Shocked at it.
Could you point on the map where your house is,
Sure.
just for reference?
This is my house, this is my shed right here. So these trees that died off, I ripped them out. I had permission from Sammy because there's so much water back there, they died. When she said there was missing trees, I took those out. There was 4 of them, they died because of all the water. The other trees are still, they're doing pretty good. But anyway, this is my house here.
All right, so you're not right behind one of the buildings for,
Well, see this right here?
Yeah.
Look at that, see that right here?
okay.
See this right here? You see this? That was all farmland, not too long, I mean, that was the best part of it. But, I mean, that's a big, huge impact. Come walk my property, tell me that that's gonna look good over there. Again, another time I might be better prepared if I'm talking off the top of my head.
No
But I
problem.
will say that I am not happy about this.
We,
And Sammy's actually a friend of mine, but this took me by complete surprise.
okay. Thank you.
All right.
Anyone else? I have 2 people that signed up. Anyone else? All right, George Lithgow?
Didn't sign up.
Yes.
Someone else before me, I'm happy to
No.
let them go first. I'm submitting a letter tonight. It basically focuses on the negative declaration that was prepared. I had an opportunity to review the planning board file yesterday. I reviewed the neg deck. I have comments on it, as you may imagine. I'm appearing on behalf of the Fairview Fire District. As the board knows, we have expressed concerns in the past. We have submitted a letter on this application last month. We also submitted previously a report from the Center for Governmental Research and other correspondence in regard to a prior application that I would ask the board to consider in connection with this application, insofar as it concerns the cumulative impacts of projects that are either pending before the board or anticipated to be before the board in a relatively short timeframe. One of the concerns I had about the neg deck, and I do hope we can address this, is that the neg deck talks about the CGR report as speculative and in terms that concern me because it indicates the board is not accepting the information that's provided therein. Last month, I requested that if there are issues or concerns about the CGR report that need to be clarified, addressed, supplemented, that the board please let us know so we can take care of it. And I'm viewing this very similar to the process you go through when you do a traffic study. You'll get a traffic study from an applicant, they make certain assumptions. They include certain projects in that scope of study that are reasonably anticipated to come before the board and to be contributing traffic to that resource within the specified timeframe. And I think when you get that study, you typically will refer it to your consultant. There will be discussions between the consultants. There will be agreement on what those reasonable assumptions are and the mechanism for the traffic study and the analysis of the impacts and the mitigation that's going to be identified, if necessary, in that study. I would hope that we can follow a similar process with the board on the CGR report. And if there are issues of concern, we can address those and make sure the board has the information that it feels it needs in order to consider those impacts. But there are cumulative impacts. We are having a discussion in a different forum about whether those impacts need to be considered and to what extent when you make your determination of significance. I believe it's clear that seeker says you must take those impacts into account when you're making a determination of significance. So we would like to ensure that you are doing that because the board's concern is not, it does not oppose projects, does not oppose this project.
The Fairview Fire Board?
The Fairview Fire District.
Okay.
The Board of Fire Commissioners of the Fairview Fire District
Thank you.
does not oppose projects. That is the planning board's concern. That is what the town adopts zoning for. That's what the town adopts a master plan for. That's what you do. Our concern is to provide, and our paramount concern is to provide for the safety of the residents of the district and to ensure the property is
So
protected.
you're saying you can't provide that?
Our concern is to make sure we continue to provide it. We currently provide services. I believe the residents of the district are of the view that we provide good services,
Okay,
and we wish to continue that without impacts.
fine.
In much the same way, for example, as if a project is going to put traffic onto a highway, you would want to know that that highway would continue to function at an adequate level of service after the project is completed and starts producing traffic generated by the project onto that road. And that's very similar to what we're hoping to do with the planning board.
Thank you.
I would also like to correct an apparent misapprehension. The district is not proposing that you impose an illegal impact fee. That is, I believe, recited in the neg deck. That is incorrect. It is not what the district proposes at all. The district proposes that you do your determination of significance, consider all of the impacts that will be created, and based on the result of that, that you will analyze, make a determination of significance, and if necessary, you will require an impact statement. That may be done in the context of a particular application, or as I'd like to point out, it could also be done in the context of the generic impact statement that you did on the comprehensive plan. Because if you look at the EAF narrative that was submitted for this application, it points out some very interesting consequences. The 2007 Comprehensive Plan GIS basically invites the town to look at a way to transfer density from parts of the town that should be developed at a lesser level due to environmental constraints to other areas where it may be more appropriate for what the report terms are infill housing. What that means is 16,000 units of housing, which is currently contemplated in residential areas, can be changed to something more dense in certain areas. It can be concentrated and focused, and I would point out that that's what is happening with this application. You're going from an approved site plan, subdivision plan, for 5 lots, perhaps 12, perhaps 15 residents, at the typical density that you see in single families, to 100 residents living in 6 three-story buildings. That is an intensification of the use. That's what apparently is being proposed. That is something which the board needs to consider as a precedent. That is going to happen and is going to be invoked in similar circumstances. The same thing happened with Fairview Commons. There was no residential development under the existing zoning. Now there is the potential for 151 units, 400 people. Those are impacts upon the district's resources, and that is something which, as a precedent that's being invoked by the master plan, needs to be considered by the board in making its determination of significance. A couple of relatively minor points which are addressed in the letter. One is the neg deck talks in terms of the impact of the project on the town's population. The town is not providing fire protection and emergency medical services. The fire district does. The fire district's population is 6,600. The potential impact of the pending development could provide 2,900 more residents to the district. That's roughly a 45% increase, and I would submit that is a significant impact of these cumulative developments. The second relatively minor point is the premise in the neg deck that there is no refill population. This is infill housing. It's providing housing units, and the neg deck suggests that some or a significant portion of the residents would be coming from existing housing accommodations in the district and would not therefore represent a net impact. With all due respect, I would suggest that if you leave a single-family house to move in here and your house is in the district, it is not going to remain unoccupied. If you leave an apartment, it's not going to remain unoccupied. And if there are a significant portion of these houses which are single-family homes, from what my understanding of what's going on in the district is there is a significant likelihood that those single-family homes will not be occupied by two people who are ready for retirement. They're going to be occupied either by a new family, probably with kids, or perhaps even more likely, they're going to be occupied by students. So these are significant consequences. There are significant consequences both with respect to the neg deck that you have before you and to the precedent that you set for land use and community character by approving a change of use that increases the density of population from the single-family zoning that now exists, and the purpose of that single-family zoning is to maintain single families, to a denser, multi-story, different kind of development that requires much more in the way of services. The district, and one of the other points I did want to make with respect to the term speculative that's used in the neg deck is that the data that was used to compile the CGR report is actual data based on comparable projects. If we are speculating with respect to those impacts, we would really like the professional staff to identify the nature of the speculation so that we can correct it. Because it is important, it is related to your determination of significance, and it's something that we both should understand correctly. Thank you.
Mr. Gephardt, you'd like to speak?
Thank you. Bob Gephardt, 72 Oakdale Avenue, and I have a copy for the board as to what I'm going to present, mainly because, as you know, I am a commissioner with the Fairview Fire District. I am not here to speak as a commissioner and chairman of the Fairview Board. I am here as a adjacent property owner to address a couple of concerns that I have, and I speak only as a approximately 45-year resident and adjacent property owner.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. My concerns is basically the height of the buildings, and before I start,
Take the
My
mic.
house-
You got to take a microphone with you.
Oh.
We need to
Sorry about that.
we need to record every syllable.
every syllable. Yes,
Absolutely.
Yes.
All the pearls that have been espoused here this evening, we want to make sure we can savor every one.
All right. My property is right here. All right. What's that? The mic's not on?
No, it was on. We got it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I must have had it. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. I'll back to this mic. All right. Anyway, that I will be. Can you hear me with this mic? All right. I will be very concerned with a three-story building that close to my property line. All right. The developer is proposing, as I understand it, and I missed the early portion of this meeting. I got here a little late, about 10 to. Is proposing 6 three-story buildings, one of which is right at my property line there, which is incompatible and does not conform or match the immediate surrounding area, which includes Chestnut Street, Amato Acres, and Oakdale Avenue. They're all 1- and 2-story buildings, houses there. If these buildings were 2-story, I wouldn't have a major concern. because it would be more eye level, it would conform. Even though the buildings would be bigger, it's a different situation. 3 stories is out of character for the neighborhood. I acknowledge, though, there is a need for senior citizen housing. However, that senior citizen housing really needs to conform to the property that's there that has already been developed. The neighbors should not have to conform to the new development. The development should fit the character of the area. That's what the zoning, and by the way, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not reading directly. The zoning ordinance is put in place to protect the existing residents as far as the character and the character of the neighborhood. All right? Putting 3-story buildings, 6 of them, which are that close to the property lines of not only Oakdale, but Chestnut and Amato Acres, there is no way you're going to shield that impact from the neighbors that exist there now. It really needs to come down to a 2-story to be able to fit in better. I know it would probably cut the size down, and I know the developer won't be exactly happy about that, but it would conform to the intent of the zoning ordinance. All right? This does not fit the intent. And that's why I'm pleading with you to please consider the project in light of the surrounding neighborhood. Okay. Secondly, and as Neil knows and the board knows, it's really a drainage problem that we have in that area. When they put in Amato Acres years ago, there was a huge impact upon Chestnut and the other streets in the immediate area as far as flooding in the basements and stuff. The present development as proposed, which is 5 houses, put a lot of work and dollars into that ground just to solve the drainage problem. At the southern western corner of the property, there's a culvert that goes underneath that road, which helps drain that swamp area. I'm concerned that if you're looking at it, that culvert may not be able to handle the capacity of such a project of this size. With that many buildings and that much impervious surface, the runoff is going to be enormous as compared to the 5 houses that were originally proposed. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that runoff that goes underneath Route 9G, I believe that heads for Morgan Lake. And I believe that's where it goes. I don't believe it goes into the Falkhill. I believe it goes into Morgan Lake. If it goes into Morgan Lake and you have that much impervious surface, and during the winter, with the salt and everything else that's going to be there, and you're going to do a runoff, that we don't really, you got to look at the downstream effect of where that water is going, that the storm runoff. And that's a second concern of mine. All right, because I don't really know exactly what the final plans were with the previous development, but the storm sewer is stormwater drainage is extremely important, not only to the immediate neighbors who already have some drainage problems but this, if it's not treated properly, it would only increase and devalue their property, which is another thing.
Stormwater is a very important aspect, which I know is they addressed, and the engineers will be addressing to make sure it all works. I mean, obviously, without them signing off on that, that's...
Right. But I also was trying to address the fact that you got to consider if it does go into Morgan Lake, which I believe it does, all right, then if you have salt and sand during the winter and they run off and you get the storms and it runs off into the swampy area and then runs off underneath 9G, assuming that can be handled the capacity, or if it doesn't, part of it goes under 9G, then you have a potential pollutant going into a very vibrant pond or lake, if you will, that many residents fish in.
I understand. That's
Okay.
all going to
So
need to be looked at. You're
very
right.
good, very
That's
good.
correct.
So, all right. So with that, that's really the only 2 things I have as a resident. I appreciate your time. And who should I give a copy of this to?
To Carol.
I will do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
By the way, I am not opposed to the project, just the present presentation as it is, okay?
Okay, thank you. Oop. Go around the board. Let's start with Peter tonight.
First, I have a quick question for Neil. You may have the answer, or Eric. I'm trying to remember as I read the SHOD ordinance. Was there anything written in there? Just want to address Mr. Gephardt's comment about compatibility with the surrounding community in terms of design.
It actually kind of defaults, if you will, to sort of our standard criteria for site plan in terms of, sort of layout and design. It doesn't necessarily talk in terms of the compatibility of a particular project in particular area, because the idea of the overlay is that it could be laid down in a number of different areas. It is certainly one of the considerations for the planning board and for the town board, when they're laying down putting down an overlay in a particular zone or a particular area. I mean, in general, it doesn't have a specific criteria that speaks to that compatibility question, but it is sort of a thread that's in, so when you read the purposes sections and some of the other parts of it.
So there is no specific language?
No.
That's a good question.
No. And keep in mind that as an overlay, the first step, right now, the R20 is a district, which is what this is zoned, is not an eligible district for the overlay. So the applicant first has to secure the rezoning to the multifamily, the RM district, which is an eligible district, and then the overlay can be applied. So it's a two-step phase. If they don't get the first one, the RM zoning, the second one fails automatically.
Okay. My thinking about this has evolved. My first concern when we got the application was this may be spot zoning. But I looked at a paper that was published by the New York State Department of State called The Zoning and the Comprehensive Plan. And just a brief quote, spot zoning refers to the rezoning of a parcel of land to a use category different from the surrounding area, usually to benefit a single owner or a single development interest. It goes on to say the question of whether rezoning constitutes spot zoning should be answered by determining whether the rezoning was done to benefit individual owners rather than pursuant to a comprehensive plan for the general welfare of the community. And I think under those terms, that question is answered. And we have provided for senior housing in areas that that generally were not zoned for that, and that's why we're here tonight. So I think it does meet that criteria. However, I can't say I'm not sympathetic to the first speaker, because I don't think there's anyone here, that was in his position wouldn't feel exactly the same way. My other concern was the construction itself of its identity as a senior housing complex. And I went back and I read the Federal Fair Housing Act 25 years ago, established the guidelines for senior housing, and they're fairly specific. And as I revisited the design and the things that they're doing, my sense is that it does generally qualify. However, throughout the Fair Housing Act, the word intent comes up again and again and again. I mean, I'm not happy with this demographic living in two-story apartments. According to the last census information, I think I mentioned this the last time we were here, we have 60,000 people in Dutchess County, 55 years and older. 80% of those nearly are 60 years and older. And it's just hard for me to make that leap that two-story apartments, townhouses, are really fit the intent of providing senior housing, even though I understand that people will phase. You'll have people probably for whom the two-story is not a problem. but it just really goes to intent. I would rather not see all those two stories, but in all other respects generally, I mean, it seems to fit the bill.
Thank you. Neglected to, before I went around the board, we need to adjourn the public hearing until April 16th.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, we adjourn the public hearing till April 16th, 2015. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So there will be another continuation of public hearing on April 16th, which is the third Thursday of April. We always meet the third Thursday of the month. Okay. Carl? Carol?
I guess I just want to start with, I appreciate that the developer's proactively gone to the county planning and flushed out all these details, so I think that was a great presentation, and got input from the neighbors as well, from what I hear, but it sounds like some neighbors didn't get notified as appropriately, so I'm not sure how that slipped through.
Let me get in.
And you got input on the emergency access, I think, so that worked out good. Can you just confirm again what the setback is? You met the setback requirements. I mean, the neighbors are concerned about how close it is, but what are the setback and landscaping requirements again?
Sure,
Of the
so
shad?
for the shad, everything's 50 feet, so
50
front,
feet,
rear,
okay.
side, yeah. So we've met the 50 feet, and then we're in excess of 50 feet over here on the side where you have the wetland.
Yes, yeah.
And then in the back, where one of the neighbors had indicated there was a concern, and that's over 65 feet. We're trying to maintain that existing vegetation there as well, in the back. So we've gone over and above. In the R20 zoning district, there's no landscaping buffer. So there, you could build right up next to the
Right.
property line. You could clear right up next to the property line. But on this, under the shad, there is actually a 30-foot landscape buffer. And so we're providing more than that. So it's 50-foot setback, 30-foot landscape buffer.
And 30-foot landscape?
Yeah.
But you plan on more than the 30-foot?
There's more than that,
Because
correct.
you're leaving the
Because it's
existing?
50 feet, yeah. And with respect to the neighbors, Carl, I think a lot of neighbors had reached out either to the town or to the town councilman. We did not go door to door. I'm certainly happy to meet with anyone, and I can make myself available so we can talk to the neighbors individually, so we're happy to do that.
I was going to, excuse me, Carl, I was going to suggest you do that,
Yeah.
because that gentleman said he hadn't been contacted, and I'm
Yeah,
sure
I don't think anyone was individually contacted
Okay.
on either part. I think it was if people had contacted either myself or the town or the
If you
councilman.
provide that information to him or
Absolutely.
anybody else here this
Yep,
evening, that'd be
absolutely.
helpful. Okay. Sorry, Carl.
That's right. I mean, that's really, I mean, we've discussed the different amenities and some site plan issues over the course of several meetings, so I think that's all I've got to say at this point.
Could I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Generally, when there's a zoning, rezoning application, aren't all neighboring property owners notified?
Not individually, no.
How,
The
Just
public hearing notice.
public
Carrying
Yeah.
out to.
in the paper?
The paper, yeah. The planning board process was where we actually notify the individual landowners through the site plan and subdivision, but not, it doesn't work the same way through the zoning process before the town board.
I need to amend the adjournment of the public hearing to May 21st rather than April 16th, because there's some timing involved with respect to the town board and looking at the rezoning and all.
Right.
Okay.
So that won't get done in time, so it's going to have to be May. So
Okay.
I apologize, this public hearing will be reconvened on May 21st.
So moved.
Call the
Second?
question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we're adjourning to May 21st, 2015. Okay, thank you. Ben?
Listening right now to everybody, still absorbing everything, and I don't want to just rehash all the stuff, but I'm going to reserve comment for now.
Okay, thank you.
Peter, actually, just getting back to your question, there is a requirement as far as the notice for a posting of a sign on the property advising that there is a rezoning application and providing a telephone number for additional information, so people see it, if they're driving by, walking by, they'll see that.
That's been done.
That will be done. I don't think it's been done at this point. Right, at the point where the town board sets the public hearing, that triggers that process.
That's a good process, by the way, yeah. Okay. Rich?
I guess I have one concern. It looks to me like the bulk of the, senior housing, particularly for those that, can't go up and down stairs, are in buildings E and F. Is there any provision being made to provide some easy mechanism for those people to get to the senior housing or the senior center or the.
Well, the center, but the senior center's in the middle of the site.
Mm-hmm. That's
Whoa,
quite a
I just
ways
pointed
away
at my
from.
face, yeah. So the senior center is here, and the two buildings that you talked about are back here. So there is a walking path, and then they could also drive if they needed to drive up to the senior center. So we're trying to make it convenient. It was intentionally placed in the center of the site, so it's convenient to all of the buildings. And I know a lot of people are focused on handicap and people who are unable to walk, and I understand that there are seniors that are that case, but again, meeting with county planning, it'd be great if I could get them to come, but they really believe that a lot of the people that are going to move into here right away are going to be the younger generation. I'm 47, so I'm not that far off from living in a senior, it's 55 and older. It's not like they're people who are completely handicapped.
Well,
And so
that's a confession, right?
Sorry, what'd you say?
He said, that's quite a confession.
Yeah, sorry, now the world knows because it's on TV. You also have people who are mixed ages that are married. And so the person that I was talking to at county planning had said, she wouldn't imagine living in here if it was all units that were accessible by an elevator because it tends to be groups that are older. So you have a younger mix of people who are in the buildings in the front, and you have an older mix of people perhaps in the buildings that are in the back. And that's really what's nice about it.
Looks like discrimination. They're in different places. Ghettos here.
How far, what's the distance?
To walk?
Yeah.
I don't know what the distance is, but they could walk or drive, one or the other. And they're all ADA accessible sidewalks.
Okay. Well, we can talk more about that, I guess.
And that's still a concern for me there ought to be some easier way to get, for example, my wife and I, she couldn't have walked down there.
But you could drive, so you could drive. And maybe one of the good things that we could do is put some just visitor parking in front of the senior center that's for the senior center only.
Yeah, but
So maybe that would be-
that assumes that the person that can drive is there.
Yeah. But the reality is that if it's someone that's not going to be driving and not going to be walking, they may not be in a facility like this. They may be in a different type of facility. This is designed for a certain group of people. It's not designed for all of the people.
Kelly, for the gentleman that came late, at your presentation, you said that the height permitted, it's for R20 is 2.5. Can you refresh
Yeah,
memory?
the current zoning is the R20 zoning district, and so I try to provide a comparison in the beginning, and it's in your, the seeker book that I gave you, so there's a comparison of all the bulk regulations. But the maximum height, if you were in the R20 zoning district now, is 2.5 stories. And so these are 3-story buildings, so it's not that much of a difference between, is that your sketch? Not that significant difference between what's permitted now in the R20 and then what we're proposing. I did drive by there today. I drive by there all the time. There are a variety of different types of building types, commercial, industrial. Again, all of this was presented in the EAF as far as compatibility. Different heights, different types of uses, different styles. There is another senior housing facility less than probably a half a mile down the road. That's 3-story units, nearly identical to this type of project.
And I have a question for Eric and maybe Neil. Neil, if this developer would, can he put houses there instead of this complex? This building?
He actually, it was approved as a 5-lot, single-family subdivision some years ago.
And we would know the square footage of these homes?
There wasn't, it's whatever he was going to build at the time. I don't believe there, we don't do site plan approvals for individual lots like that. It would, whatever the size would have been that he would have determined.
And the reason I'm asking is because, anyone can build large homes and block the view of other residents.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we could build, again, someone had
I
asked
mean,
before.
subject to
we
the
could-
height limitation for the
Right, for the
R20
zone.
district.
But we could build right up on the property line with
Correct.
no landscaping buffer on the R20. So that was the purpose of the comparison.
Kelly, the other thing I noticed that there is no dumpster or trash facility there. Where are you going to put the trash?
There actually, I don't know why they didn't get on this plan. There actually is one here There's one for each cluster of units. So there was one over here, there's one here. Look at my hands, they're shaking.
That's
Can't even hold that straight.
That's cluster
And there's one in the
47.
back. It's so far away. That's right. That's because I'm about ready to move into one of these units.
Make sure you get one with no elevator.
I'll take the stairs. I have no problem with the stairs. So there is a garbage refuse area for each cluster of buildings.
And are indoor or outdoor?
They're outdoor with an
Oh,
enclosure,
close. Okay, thank you.
with
Kelly.
recycling.
Good presentation.
Thank you.
The height difference in feet between 3 and 2.5 and 3 stories is,
Well, our units are
Says-
35 to 36, depending upon the piece of the roof.
Yeah.
So is there an architect here that could?
I mean, the R20 was 35-foot max height, and the
And,
RM is 40-foot, but
Yeah,
the shot
so-
actually allows up to 7 stories.
and ours are 35.
But
They're
you're-
35
you're-
and 36.
So
So
you're meeting the R20
we're
building
right
height
within
roughly.
with the R20 permits. And
Okay.
really, then if a 35-foot building could be on the property line with no landscaping buffer. So
right, this is going to be
as far as the
further,
impact,
50 feet in and all that.
50 or
yeah.
65.
Right, okay.
Yeah, with screening.
So that's actually better with the screening and everything else.
It
yeah.
is, it's hard to look at that sometimes. You have to really just place everything down and look at all the different bulk requirements, but you're having the same height building 50 to 65 feet away with landscaping.
Okay, thank you. Joe?
Capture them.
Joe Dennis, anything you want to add?
Yeah, no drainage was mentioned. We are definitely going to look at that, as well as the capacity of the culvert under 9G. That's under DOT's purview, and we've already kind of made that part of our comments to ask them to look at that. And Kelly had mentioned they met with them. They probably discussed drainage in some
Yes.
respect on that. So they did provide a preliminary SWIP, and it relies a good portion of it. I mean, they're using some existing drainage that's already on the property, and then they're doing a lot of impervious pavement, which counts on, fairly decent soils, decent draining soils. So as long as the soil conditions prove out and the rest of the SWIP, the calculations, we'll certainly go through those.
We did do our deep tests. I'm not sure if you got copies of
Okay.
that, but I think the latest drainage report you got incorporated those deep test results.
Okay.
Just for curiosity, do you know, does it drain into Morgan Lake, or does it go into do you know where it goes? It goes into the culvert? You know, I
don't know
Curious to know the answer at
offhand
some
where
point.
it goes, yeah.
I mean, that was
That's
a good
something
question.
they have to
Report,
identify
Scott's
that,
in-
yeah.
Scott
They'll
did
have
the
to
drainage
identify
report, so
that.
it's in there, in the report somewhere. He just doesn't remember what direction it went.
Okay.
Joe, just a follow-up question. If the calculations demonstrated that the culvert diameter was insufficient, then what would then happen during the course of review?
Well, we wouldn't be here.
It's probably more DOT's call, but they could do something where they store more water on their project. They could put some kind of an outlet device in that would hold back water on their site and drain more gradually through the culvert, as a way to kind of offset an increase in the flow.
That's a nice way of saying the culvert's not going to get enlarged.
Chances are it won't, right?
The amount of volume, though, that's going in that direction, it's just, as I indicated, it's just the area in the front and a small portion of the driveway. Everything else is being treated on site.
On site, okay. All right. Well, we got long way to go, but that's, good information. Okay, anything else, Neil?
Yeah, I just had an observation I would like to offer the board relative to the comments that we heard from George Lithgow on behalf of the Fairview Fire District. The letter that he submitted tonight, analyzes and comments on the negative declaration that we provided, and specifically states that report did not propose an impact fee. In fact, the CGR report does. I'm looking actually at a copy of it on page 39. There's a whole section. It's actually labeled developer mitigation fee, which is an impact fee, and it sets forth a methodology for an assessment year by year to address the impacts that the CGR report claimed would occur as, based upon certain scenarios, initially for the Fairview Commons project and then some of the other ones that are examined. So certainly the scenarios, the report is really about revenue coming into the fire district other than through the regular taxing, the real property taxing mechanism. So I think that the commentary in the negative declaration is accurate to describe the CGR report as setting forth the basis for collection of impact fees, which are described as mitigation fees in the CGR report, which are, to my mind, the same thing. The other thing that I just wanted to comment on had to do with this refill population comment that Mr. Lithgow had it's on page 3 of his letter. And I understand that the fire district is concerned about what's happening within their boundaries. But the negative declaration is talking about the potential movement of seniors from single-family homes into possibly some of these units. But we were not examining the movement of people specifically within the district. The commentary, and it's actually item number 9, page 6 of the negative declaration, is about the potential relocation of residents of the town, not just the district. I just wanted to make that clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig, anything you want to offer?
No, yeah. You know, I had addressed some of the concerns that were raised by Mr. Lithgow in his February 19th letter, which was submitted after this particular, the February meeting, regarding the economic harm to the fire district and whether or not that was a permissible scope of the planning board review as part of its secret determination. I now have this letter dated March 19 that was just handed to us moments ago. I have not had an opportunity to even review that.
And nor should you have to.
So I will have that opportunity between now and May, and I'll be able to address that for your consideration.
Okay, and just as a reminder to the board or the public, this is a tax-paying entity. They pay full taxes, including fire taxes. They're not a not-for-profit, and that's a good thing. So they're going to pay their fair share based on the assessment, and which means that the fire district will benefit from that, which is also a good thing because they do have a lot of not-for-profit and non-tax-paying entities up there. So that's.
Chair, can I ask if there was assessment done on the property and how much they would pay for the year? Is that a number out there?
They may have an estimate.
Yeah, we did work with.
I think I saw that estimate somewhere, 40.
Well, we did work with the town assessor on trying to come up with an assessment for the property, and I believe it was $6.5 million after full construction, and the amount to be paid to the Fairview Fire District would be $45,000.
Okay,
I think that's
what
what it
that
was
was the number I
annually.
remember. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Cal.
Rich?
Finished with our discussion?
I think so.
I move that the planning board as lead agency hereby determines that the Dahlia Senior Housing change of zone to RM zoning district with SHOD designation and the site plan approval would not have a significant adverse effect on the environment and that no environmental impact statement will be required for the reasons set forth in the seeker negative declaration for an unlisted action dated March 19th, 2015, prepared by the planning department.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
We moved and seconded. And I'm not going to reread it's in the record, so I'm not going to reread what Rich already did. And just call a question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
I move that the planning board convey a positive recommendation to the town board regarding the change of zone to RM zoning district and the SHOD designation for this project pursuant to a referral from the town board, and that the town board consider attaching the following conditions. 1, a provision of the declaration of covenants to ensure that non-residential space in the SHOD is not later converted to residential use in accordance with zoning section 210-20D, sub 3A3, and the provision of a declaration of covenants about the eligibility of residents who occupy age-restricted apartments and how verification of the occupancy by persons 55 years or older will be administered.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Do we convey a positive recommendation to the town board, and again, as Rich read into the record. And call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
I move that the planning board defer action on the site plan application pending action by the town board and direct the applicant to respond to comments from the planning board and those received from the town departments and agencies as indicated by the planning board on February 19, 2015, including but not limited to the following: 1 through 5, 1 through 11. And that would also include comments from the public hearing and the board tonight.
Right.
Correct. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded, the planning board defer action on the site plan application pending action by the town board and direct the applicant to respond to comments of the planning board and those received from town departments and agencies as indicated by the planning board on February 19, 2015, limited, including but not limited to the following, 1 through 11, and 12 being comments from the public at the public hearing and the board this evening. I call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll see you. The next public hearing, again, will be in April.
May.
May 21st, I'm stuck on April, May 21st. At this point, I'd like to have a motion to suspend the rules for any public comments on any agenda items under plan reviews.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Anyone in the audience wish to comment on any other agenda item? Hearing or seeing no one, I move we resume the rules.
So moved.
Okay, call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Plan review number 1, Neptune Commerce Park Phase 4, Hardee's. Amended site plan review for proposed Hardee's restaurant consisting of 3,008 square feet fast food restaurant and 1 drive-through lane for Building B of the previously approved Neptune Commerce Park site plan, South Road, 2265 South Road 2 and 6 Neptune Road, Zone BH Highway Business, 1.39 acres on a site of 8.82 acres. Unlisted action, Neptune Capital Investors LLC and Vieira Sardina, I hope I said that right, Realty LLC owners.
You meant 33,000?
What did I say? 3,008.
Said 33.
Oh, did he? I'm sorry. Plus or minus, oh, it's plus or minus. 3,008 square foot fast food restaurant. That would be quite a fast food restaurant, wouldn't it? You'd need at least 2 drive-throughs for that. At any rate, welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, David Kaminsky representing Neptune Capital Investors.
Scott, we met from LRC Group.
Brian Wheeler from Hungry Guys LLC. We are the franchisee.
Hungry Guys.
Yes.
Good name.
Came to the right place.
Yeah, and I'm Claire Conlon, also from Hungry Guys LLC. We'll be the operators.
Okay, great.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Good to see you again. I wanted to first start out with just a brief presentation to thank the board for working with us over the past several years to create Neptune Commerce Center. I think it's been a success. We've been very happy with the tenants we have. They're doing very well. We've certainly taken what was a major eyesore on Route 9 for many, many years here in the town of Poughkeepsie and created a project that has also created over 100 new jobs, added to the tax base, and is continuing in its process to bring new development to the town of Poughkeepsie. As we proceed here, Scott will give you a background as to the site itself and the site design. I would like to address the parking, if I may. Parking is really critical to us on this project. We have worked with you originally. You'll recall that the site plan approvals included a lot of deferred parking. And to date, we have had to build, because of the demand for parking on the site, 100% of the parking. We have not been able to defer any of the parking on the site at this point. We've just recently signed an amendment with Bounce to lease the additional 4,200 square feet that is in the two Neptune structure at the far right-hand side of the building. They're going to expand into that space and do a ninja obstacle course based on a trampoline basis, so that their existing 25,000 square feet. So their existing 25,000 square feet will go up to about 30,000 square feet. I would also mention to you that Crunch has been very successful and is presently adding about 50 new members monthly. So our parking demands, if you've been onto the site on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, especially on a Saturday, is in that hours between about 10 and about 1 o'clock, every single parking space on that project is currently being used. So while our application today may show that the Hardee's requires 30 or 35 parking spaces, we think it's absolutely critical that all 90-some additional parking spaces that we are suggesting be built on this project.
I had actually just want to sort of jump in there, David, not to interrupt your presentation too much. I had actually called David yesterday and to have the discussion, because we had also received the county comments about parking. The question was simple. There an opportunity to perhaps land bank some parking, and he reminded me of the conversation we'd had about 2 weeks earlier about the bounce of taking over the additional space. So it's roughly around 49,000, almost 50,000 square feet in that building. So the totality of the building will now be filled.
Correct.
Going forward. And as soon as you reminded me of that, I said, yes, of course, we'll need the spaces. So, but, maybe there's something we can do in the way of additional landscaping, something along Route 9, but I agree with David that the spaces will certainly be needed, because we're going to have some conflicts and overlap, if you will, between the fitness center, which is doing very, very well, and the new restaurant and the bounce with the expansion.
Thank you, Neil. Scott?
Yeah.
Here it is.
Just some of the things, I just want to do a brief history since the project was back before you. It was approved in February 2011. As David said, we finished the Dunkin' Donuts. That was completed in 2003. Phase 2 and 3 included the build-out of Building C on the approved site plan, which was the bounce trampoline and the Crunch Fitness. And that included the building of the deferred parking, as David had mentioned. Now, this is before you as Phase 4, which is the building of Lot 2, Building B on the approved site plan. And we're looking to replace what was approved as a bank with 3 drive-through lanes to be Hardee's with 1 drive-through lane. We did meet with the Dutchess County Department of Health, and just today got a letter of approval from the Dutchess County Department of Health for the project as was submitted to the town board, or the planning board. We also met with the town consultants and the sewer department and the water department and got positive feedback from everyone regarding that. We also had a traffic report from Mazer, which was included with the submission, and that was also submitted to the DOT, and we got comment back from them that they agreed with the traffic impact study that was submitted. And that's kind of the overview of where we are with the project.
Just briefly, to go over the site plan with you, we're presently using this curb cut as the main curb cut that was agreed upon into the project. There's no change as far as that curb cut or any additional work to Neptune Road or Route 9 or the traffic signal. So it's basically the vacant lot that you see here now where the Hardee's restaurant will be located. There is existing parking that's already built that we did as a part of the phase where we did the 2 Neptune building. We added parking along here, and this parking you see in the white in this area here. This presently services this building. So the new parking that would be added is this gray shade that you may or may not be able to see. There's parking on both sides of the aisleway here. It is a one-way aisle traffic flow that leads into a single drive-through. There is an escape lane at this point. If someone drives up to the reader board and for whatever reason does not want to order, there's an ability to escape. we incorporated the the trash enclosure into an area that we thought was the best way without putting it next to the neighbor, leaving it close to the restaurant, but yet incorporating it into the area here. It is an architecturally pleasing trash enclosure in that it will match the one that we have with Dunkin' Donuts.
That's a new term.
Thank you.
We're all curious to see what this is going to look like.
The exit from the drive-through lane comes out to this location here, where someone would make a right-hand turn and then exit again, as all traffic does now, onto Neptune Road. Remember, there is no right turn lane out onto Route 9.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. That's good. Who's the, Liz?
No, that's you want staff report? I mean,
Yeah. You did it?
I did.
Okay, this ought to be good.
Eric lets me do one at least once a year, so.
Okay, well, thank you, Neil. That's very nice. That's good. Okay, any questions from the board? Oh, you're not done?
No, of course, I've already commented on the parking. Yeah, we received, I think, pretty much all of the other departmental reports. I'll let Joe weigh in on the engineering part of it. But basically, this is a reworking of the previously approved site plan for what would have otherwise been a bank. So, and the fact that we're also dealing with quite a few items that are already built conditions: the water, the sewer, the parking, much of the landscaping, and certainly the entrance onto Route 9. Kind of actually makes my review fairly simple. I am looking for a little more information about some of the lighting fixtures, the way that the photometrics worked out. It didn't show that we were at 0.2 foot candles at the property line. Those just stopped at 0.5 at some point out from the fixture itself, and that's a detail, something that we can work out at the staff level. As David has indicated and Scott has indicated, traffic's been looked at, DOT has accepted it, John Myers has also commented on it and found the information that was provided is consistent with the previously approved plan. So going forward, and if the board is in agreement, my recommendation is to affirm the January 20, 2011 negative declaration, and waive a public hearing on the amended site plan, and then grant conditional site plan as noted in the memo.
Thank you, Neil. Okay, let me go around the board and start with Carl right now.
Hi. We've got, just looking at the parking assessment, yeah, as you had said, I counted 93 spaces total within this parcel, but 54 of them are already existing, so you're only adding 39 new spaces. And just stopping on the way there to the meeting today, that every space was used at this point. People were looking for spaces, so I think while the county was just looking at this one parcel for their comments, you have the whole shared parking easement agreement, I believe, between the different parcels here, right?
That's correct.
So a lot of the parking will be used by the other site, the gym, as you said. So while I wish there's a spot for some green space or whatever, that this is, unfortunately, the parking, I think, is the issue. County also commented on the pedestrian connectivity. We did provide for that in the original site plan, past the bank, and that's what you're continuing to include here, as well as connecting. So my understanding, you're going to take those striped areas of asphalt right now and make some concrete berms going toward the gym?
Yes, the areas that you see that are just striping right now, that will be curbed and there will be landscaping added. Yes, sir.
Some landscape, okay.
That's correct.
Landscaping was another question I had.
That's correct.
How much was there? And you'll have the crosswalks and sidewalk connection then into the main building. The only comment I have on the pedestrian connections is up in the top right corner. I don't have a laser pointer here, but looks like the sidewalk is going right into Route 9 there versus up toward the Dodge dealer. Should curve a little
as you're aware, there are no sidewalks or pedestrian access to the north or the south of us. So
Not
literally.
yet, not yet, but.
Correct. I mean,
Yeah,
we can modify that sidewalk and take it towards the other individuals' property.
Yes,
if you prefer that.
that's what I was preferring. 'Cause
Sure.
Right where I mean, kind of like the existing asphalt walkway is there now.
That's an easy change.
That would be good to do.
Yes.
I mean, unfortunately, the Dodge dealer was in before our new town plan and comprehensive plan, which was encouraging more sidewalks in this area, so.
Okay.
At some point, that may be connected, though.
That's a good point.
So we talked about the sidewalks, the landscaping. What kind of landscaping along Route 9 in front there? Since we're putting parking up front close.
And all the landscaping in the front is consistent with the previous approved site plan.
Are you going to beef that up a little bit if we?
Trying to remember what the.
You okay with that?
Sure, we wouldn't want to
Oh, there it is.
over-add so that we block visibility to the building, but we'd
Right.
certainly be willing to work with you for something that would be more agreeable.
Okay, maybe work with staff, but maybe beef up the berm a little bit, just to, kind of, I think Dave knows what I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
We're amenable to that.
Actually, on the landscaping, and we did this as part of the original approved plan, in an effort to cut down irrigation costs. Dave, you may want to talk a little bit about some of the grass and seed mix that are being used, to try to cut down the maintenance so you didn't have to run irrigation lines and stuff like that, and some of the experience you've had with that.
I forget the exact term, but the idea of the design of the landscaping on this project was zero-scaping, I think it's called.
Low mow.
Zero?
We have,
XER.
we purposely designed and used plants that do not need irrigation. So there is no irrigation system installed in the majority of this. The Dunkin' Donuts did do it on a part of their property. We did have some initial issues last year after plantings were done with the wildflowers. Used a wildflower mix. We were assuming that it maybe was the time of year. They will be reseeded this coming spring with the mix again, so that those areas that are supposed to be wildflowers, a lot of people called or that were going to Dunkin' Donuts were complaining, why are there so many weeds out there? The first year of growth of wildflowers,
That's
it does
kind of what they
unfortunately
look like, yeah.
like weeds. So, yeah, we took a lot of heat for that, but the idea is the lawn mix we use, it was a special lawn mix that we got the sod, and by the way, we only use sod, we do not use seed, as you know, on our projects. But it was a special low, drought-tolerant sod out of southern New Jersey that we trucked up here and used, and it does not also need to be cut every week. It can be cut only once a month. So it was actually pretty successful last year, except for the wildflower, and we're going to continue to use that same type of system
But I
for what we
think
do
this
here.
was the first project in my experience here, working for the town, it's a position that we were able to, support this kind of an effort. Because we're all concerned about maintenance and the cost of running irrigation lines, stuff like that. So I think overall, it'll be successful going forward, so.
Last couple of winters haven't been.
Yeah, no.
Haven't exactly been friendly, yeah.
The other thing I would point out, although it's minor, is that the green area, I know that's a very small plan to see from where you are, but the green area is only up to our property line. There's probably another 12 to 15 feet to get to the curb line. So there really is a lot of area of landscaping there. That shows a little bit better. Thanks, Rod.
Good job, Rod.
But we'll certainly work with you. And yeah, let me just, since I fought with this last time, I'll just pick up the whole thing. You'll see there's areas here where there's striping. That's, again, where wildflower goes. So the sodded areas are just these areas here, and it'll be along the entire area. This is the curb line here. This is our property line. So this additional area will have all sod, but then this is all the wildflower mixed in here.
Well, I like it. And one thing I can say about Mr. Kaminsky's property is he always keeps the landscaping up to up to par and, just nice.
Thank you.
That's always been your reputation, and you've always done that, so it's never been a real issue. Okay, at any rate. Ben? Are you done, Carl? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was finished it.
Okay, sorry. Maybe I just don't see it here or don't understand it yet. I'm pretty new here. But how do you get product in and out of this building?
Why don't you go up and show?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
It is.
I'm sorry.
They took my question.
And I kind of got to go back to
He
the.
You took Joe's question.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
Joe.
so as was approved on the original site plan, all the large truck circulation comes in through the existing Neptune Road, and it comes in the entrance midway through the through this side access, and it can circulate the buildings, each of the buildings independently to provide deliveries. And for this particular plan, we worked with the franchisees and found out the size of the truck, and we ran truck turns to make sure that it can come in and it can back up and it could offload to the restaurant.
And it doesn't affect the drive-through?
No.
Are those deliveries going to be made during the day or off hours?
They'll be made in off hours overnight.
That's it, thank you.
That sounds funny when it says we conferred with the hungry guys. You get that a lot, I'm sure. Rich?
I really don't have a lot. I mean, I agree with Carl on the sidewalks, because I've noticed there seems to be a significant amount of walking traffic between the Duchess Dodge and the Duncan.
Yes, there
I'm
is.
sure when Hardee's is there, they're gonna be traffic too for lunch, so.
Right, I'm one of them, you're right.
So having a walkway is important. Aside from that, I mean, it looks good, and I'm looking forward to, I've never seen a Hardee's around here.
There aren't any yet.
This is the first one in, what's the closest one?
We have two currently under construction. One is in Kingston and another in Middletown, and this will be our third. And the one in Kingston is slated to open in approximately a month.
And beyond that, the South Carolina, is that the closest one?
No, if you go to Delaware,
Okay.
that's the closest one. The brand is re-expanding back into the Northeast, and Hungry Guys has signed a development agreement with Hardee's to develop 30 restaurants over the next 10 years.
Wow.
In the area where, Dutchess County is basically the center of our territory.
Gotcha. What's their specialty?
Charbroiled hamburgers.
Joe? I'm trying to give you time to think of another question.
Yeah, I have nothing to say, but I do have a question. Is this 7 days operation?
Yes.
7 days operation. And just for a space savior, Dave, I'm not sure the relation with Dunkin' Donuts. Maybe you could share the trash container with Dunkin' Donuts. This would save you a couple, so the staff will bring the trash to Dunkin' Donuts. And again, I'm not sure the relationship with Dunkin' Donuts. Because I see you have a pretty sharp turn there where the trash section is on the corner.
Yeah, I would point out that, where's the bigger one? Okay. Aha. This is really, so the trash container itself is this line here.
Right.
These are the doors that open up, and this is just a landing pad. So really, this whole area you see from this side of my pen over is just concrete, it's part of the road. From this part here over is the trash compactor.
Right.
Unfortunately, Dunkin' Donuts is owned by a separate parcel owner, even though it's a part it's a part of the project overall, given the declaration of easements we have. And it works as a part of the whole center, but we wouldn't be able to mix and match with regard to that.
Also, I think
Mr.
there's a
LaPorte.
problem, the fact that your main entranceway, I mean, they'd have to go across.
Yeah, across the main entrance
traffic
would be an issue.
There's a safety consideration, I think, for
I'm
employees.
trying to look at, and I understand, I'm trying
Yeah.
to see how can you save some more space on the property, just like that. What about a grease trap? Is that a grease trap on the?
Yeah, we are proposing a 2,000-gallon grease trap that would be located in the parking space that's south of the building, directly south of the building, and we met with Franco from the sewer department to confirm the sizing of that, and we also got approval from the Department of Health for the grease trap.
I do agree with John that your properties look beautiful and clean, and you'll make my kids happy, with another fast food restaurant in town. But we will never cook again.
Thank you, Joe.
We look forward to having you.
Peter? Okay. Joe?
Yeah, as was mentioned, we did have a meeting couple weeks ago just to go over some details on the plan. This is one of those few projects where stormwater is not a big topic because they've already handled stormwater. It was pre-planned in their original project. So we don't really have any concern about the stormwater, but there were some items. We discussed a little bit about the grease trap and some other issues with utilities, but they're working on those items presently. We talked a little bit about layout of different things, but I think they basically wound up going back to the plan that they had. And just my letter kind of outlined some of the things that we talked about in the meeting. I think they had some, an earlier version of the survey or the subdivision plan just has to be incorporated into the set.
Yes.
And just clarifying a little bit about the phasing, because like half of the area parking is already built, and trying to show us how they're going to isolate the construction of the new building versus what's already there. Just coming up with some plan of how to do that, and we kind of deferred that to around the time, closer to the time of construction, so we don't necessarily need all those details right now. This site had been subject of a cleanup with IBM, the prior owner, and we were asking them just to give us a little update on the status of that cleanup and maybe just put some general notes on the plans about that, what it would mean for this particular operation if there's any real effect on that. I know the DOT and John Meyer have reviewed it and signed off on it, so we're comfortable with the circulation issues and the prior traffic reviews. That's basically it.
Mr. Chairman, just to respond to the one thing that Joe mentioned, I think it's really critical, and I think Neil would agree, that when we do go to construction here, given that it is an operating center, we're going to have to pay particular attention to how we protect the existing
Right.
patrons of the center from the construction that's going on, and we'll work with staff. to
That'll be a
make
big
sure of
topic
that.
at the pre-construction.
Something will be part of a pre-con discussion.
Correct.
Yeah, it's going to be tight in there working, so. How long do you expect to take to build something like this?
Between 110 and 120 days.
Oh, okay. Quick. That's fast food. Okay.
Fast build up, fast.
I guess, okay.
Is it a prefab building? I think Dunkin' Donuts is like a prefab type.
It's not.
building
It's
now.
a stick-built building on a poured foundation.
I'm good.
I move that the planning board as lead agency affirm that January 20th, 2011 negative declaration previously issued for the Neptune Commerce Park hereby determines that the proposed Hardee's restaurant site plan amendment would not have a significant adverse effect on the environment, and that a draft environmental impact statement will not be required for the reasons set forth in the negative declaration.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the planning board, as the lead agency that was affirmed January 20, 2011, negative declaration previously issued for the Neptune Commerce Park, and hereby determines that the proposed Hardee's restaurant site plan amendment would not have a significant adverse effect on the environment, and that a draft environmental impact statement will not be required for the reasons set forth in said negative declaration. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
I move that the planning board as lead agency hereby waive a public hearing on the proposed Hardee's restaurant site plan amendment.
Second.
Okay. Been moved and seconded, the planning board as lead agency hereby waive a public hearing on the proposed Hardee's restaurant site plan amendment. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
I move that the planning board grant conditional site plan approval for the Hardee's restaurant site plan amendment subject to the following. 1 through 14, and any comments from the board tonight?
Right, this little sidewalk issue. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the planning board grant conditional site plan approval for the Hardee's Restaurant site plan amendments, subject to the following, 1 through 14 and 15 being comments and recommendations from members of the planning board, et cetera, this evening, and also including beefing up the landscape as you indicated you would do, and working with staff on that. I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Are you prepared to do architectural review this evening?
Yes, sir, we are.
Okay, good. These are the kinds of applications we need in ABPX. What matter? Building permit.
Yeah, here's one.
Colors. Do it tonight. Bring Tim in.
Yeah, they should have a lot of color.
Yeah.
Bright red.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. My last experience here was not good. I went to Hardee's in North Carolina. Remember they used to have a slogan, come on down to Hardee's where the burgers are charcoal broiled. They still use that? No, that's like going back a ways. Okay, all right, sorry.
I see they call them.
Oh, this is all this guy?
Yes, and you,
My name is Scott Lurie. I'm an architect. My address is 645 Lotus Avenue in Oradell, New Jersey. I've been in practice for extremely long time, 30-some odd years. And I'm the architect director on this project.
It's colorful.
Yeah. So basically, the composition, this front element, actually, if you look at it on this rendering, where the Hardee's sign is a freestanding screen that stands just proud of the building, and it's a curved element. This will have a parapet on the roof that will screen all the equipment. It will not be visible from anywhere, so that's not going to be a problem. The materials on this are a stucco or IFAS, if you will, which is this tan brown. I call it red is a hardy plank, a hardy board actually. It's a cemented, fiberglass reinforced cemented.
well, of course it is.
Board. And then this, these, where am I? I'm upside down. These towers are a stone element, which we have samples of on the floor, which is this piece.
Careful, it's heavy.
Oh, it is. That was a surprise. All right, so that'll be the stone element on it.
It's real stone.
What's that?
It's real
No,
stone.
it's a cultured stone.
Oh, it is cultured, okay.
Yeah, or, synthetic.
Glad we managed to make you believe it was real, though.
This one, the tight joints and everything on this type of stone look really good, though. So that's really the whole building. It's about a little over 3,000 square feet. And
Don't see anything in color.
it has a nice amount of movement in it, so it's not just a flat plane, so minor projection pieces. And it's a handsome, colorful building, and I think it'll do the job for what Hardee's wants. And this is what Hardee's is building everywhere, by the way.
The same building in Middletown and Kingston, same.
Substantially identical. It's the same as the building that we're building in Middletown, which has 2 drive-through windows, which this building will also have. The building we're building in Kingston, because of the requirements of the site there, we had to put the drive-through window on the right side of the building as opposed to the left. And in that format, you can only have 1 drive-through window. But other than that, the architectural elements of the building and the colors are all the same.
Mr. Chairman, just want to point out, you're not approving the signage as part of this. Some of the signage that's proposed would be subject to a separate area variance from the zoning board of appeals, as called out by Sarah's memorandum.
Right.
Yeah, quite a bit of signage.
Yep, it's a good-looking building.
What
I think so. Any
is
comments,
I mean,
objections?
since it's a flat roof, what is
Pardon me?
since the flat roof, is the HVAC up there and where?
HVAC's up
and
there, but
how's
the parapet's sufficiently high to cover any HVAC system.
Okay, wanted to make sure of that.
No, that's for sure.
All right. I move we accept the architecture as presented. No?
Second.
Second? Sure. Call a question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I know it's getting late.
Motion carries, 6-0.
I have just one quick question. You mentioned it has 2 drive-throughs.
No, this one has one.
This one has one.
Drive-through windows. It has 2 windows, 1 drive-through lane.
One drive-through.
It's pay and pickup, right?
It's pay at one, and then pick up at the
other,
second,
okay.
which is pretty much the norm in the Northeast. It's not necessarily the typical format for Hardee's, but it's more conforming with what we do in the Northeast, which is usually pay at one window and pick up at the second.
Is that because they don't trust the people in the Northeast? Maybe I have to ask the question. You mean pick up and run? Never.
It's a volume question, I think. I think we're going to have a lot of volume, we hope.
Well, good luck with your restaurant. I hope it does well.
Thank you very
It's gonna be
much.
great. And you'll have lots of hungry people nearby at the fitness place and at the bouncing around.
They all need to be fed. Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
And then I'll go to the gym.
All right, number 2, the Golden Corral Restaurant. Declare lead agency intent and discussion on a site plan for 11,000 square foot, 1-story Golden Corral Restaurant, including parking, grading, stormwater, lighting, utilities, and landscaping, 2345 South Road, Zone BH Highway, Business Highway, 4.77 acres on listed action. 82 Afran, Anfran Realty Inc., Anfran, 82 Anfran. We just got started with the rest.
Do you prefer if I sit or stand?
Huh? Yes. Sit, come on up. We got room for everybody.
The big one open here?
Welcome back. I remember we had a meeting a while back.
Yes, how are you?
I was wondering if you were coming back.
Yes, of course.
Good.
Basically the same
Huh?
Yes.
Scared. No, right here. What's his point? What are you guys freaking?
Bill, one of your partners as well. It's Bill, one of your partners. Gary Custer. You want just don't get engaged.
Okay, well, we got time to go. Yeah.
Good evening.
Okay, good evening.
Good
Hi.
evening, Mr. Chairman.
Hello. Please identify all yourselves.
Yes, I am Amador Laput, project manager at Fellenzer Engineering. And we have Chip Joyner on the end, and Mr. Ron Henderson, and Mr. Milton Dewar as the franchise owners. Also with us from Golden Corral is Gary Custer, who's the vice president of franchise construction.
Okay, good.
So we're developing this site, 2345 South Road, Route 9. That's the west side of Route 9. So just to the north of us is the Cloud 9 Motel. And a little bit to the south, that's the Cloud 9 there. Hampton Inn is a little bit further north. And then to the south, a little bit further south, is the car dealership. So this property used to be a florist and a cash for cars. Those buildings along Route 9 have been demolished. There's currently a contractor yard there. There's a fence contractor on this part of the property. So we're looking to develop Golden Corral. Golden Corral has been successful for 40 years. It's a nationwide chain. The 14 stores added last year put them over the 500 store mark, but only 4 are in New York. 3 in the Albany, Saratoga Springs area, 1 in Rochester. So this would be the only store in this part of New York State. So it is America's #1 buffet and grill. It's very family-friendly and would provide a great value meals. So there's an existing cut here that was for the florist and the cash for cars. We are proposing to move that slightly. There's an existing utility pole right where we're showing a triangle. So we would maintain that existing location, so we wouldn't have to move the pole and have the in and out relocated in accordance with that pole. So you come in, there's no drive-through proposed. It's number of parking in the back. And let me clarify, the plan that was submitted did show parking in front. Since that plan has been submitted, we had gotten some comments from the town, and we appreciate that very much. We typically do not get comments before we get to a meeting, but we would like to show that we have accommodated some of those comments and put the building in front and now have all of the parking in the back. Per zoning, 111 spaces are required, and we're proposing 170. So this is 11,000 square foot, single-story restaurant. And the architectural on the bottom is not our building exactly. It's going to look similar, but this is a typical Golden Corral architectural elevation. You'll notice there's on the left side on the bottom is where the dumpster location is, and we're opposite that and putting it on the right. But it will look very similar to this architectural elevation on the bottom. So along the parking, to meet zoning, there's a 30-foot buffer along the property lines where we'll provide landscaping. The setbacks are 40 feet rear, side, and we're exceeding all of that for zoning. This middle portion of the parking lot here will be for stormwater. It'll be a rain garden / infiltration trench. So we are over an acre disturbance. We will be providing a stormwater pollution prevention plan per New York State DEC Stormwater Design Manual. And we are only proposing to develop the front part of this lot. This line here is the line for the residential district, and we are not proposing any improvements on the back side here. We are going to provide lighting, and I do have a plan here if you'd like to see it, where there'll be a number of poles along the outside as well as the inside of the parking. We're looking at LED fixtures, and currently the zoning limits us to 15-foot poles within 50 feet of that property line. So doing that, it's a little different than Golden Corral's standard. They would normally use taller poles, 25 to 30 feet. So we're looking at meeting the zoning for that, but we would reserve the right if there is any leeway in that zoning to look at higher poles.
That could be a discussion with staff before we get to site plan review. And
Okay.
Obviously, we're discussing. I'm glad you brought that up, so that's something you can iron out with staff before they come forward with recommendations. So, a lot of that stuff can be hopefully squared away and agreed to before we get back to here. Which makes the process quicker.
Yes.
So we always
And-
encourage meetings with staff between the time we go out for lead agency and we have this discussion, and you come in with your actual submittal.
Okay, good. And on that note, I have to commend the town and this board. I've been with a lot of other boards, and this one is running quite efficiently. I have to thank Mr. Holman and Ms. Barone for getting the application in, and just the information that comes back from the board in a timely manner really helps move this project along. And it's something that we hope to get this project approved and open by the end of the year. So your efficient process certainly helps that. Thank you.
And that's being recorded, by the way, and
Yes.
you're on TV right now.
I'll say it again if you like.
You forgot to mention that we're best looking board too.
And I would like to say that you're also the best looking board I've seen tonight.
Okay.
All right, so.
When do you need a permit?
I decided we need to get we needed an ABPM, automated building permit machine.
Oh, no, couldn't have that. So also, since we've made a submission, we started the reports that we need to get through the State Environment Equality Review. So Mazer Consulting, Phil Greeley, has completed the traffic study, at least the measurements. We don't have the full report. And he states that the capacity is fine for Route 9. We wouldn't adversely affect that. He does recommend some timing change to the lights along Route 9 for us. We've completed the wetlands, and there are no wetlands on this property per Ecological Solutions Mike Nowicki. He's also looked at threatened and endangered species, so no Wedgwood mussels, cottontail rabbits, long-eared bats, or Indiana bat. And we will be getting a DOT permit for this new cut, and getting comments from State Historic Preservation as well.
Okay. I mean, this is just a discussion because we don't have an actual application or site plan review to do tonight. But if anybody has any questions, I know my own personal experience, I went to one of these places, one Golden Corral on the way to Florida, and I was like kind of taken back when I went in because it was right along Interstate 95. There were a lot of families there. I don't remember what day of the week it was, but everybody was having a good time, and the kids they were catering to the kids, and they had I don't know, it just seemed like the kind of place where everybody was just, having a good time. And
that is the goal.
And they were obviously well fed, so.
They are. It will be 7-day operation, lunch and dinner buffets every day, and then breakfast on the weekends.
Okay. Do you have a meeting room there, or is there any kind of a public community room?
We do. We do have a meeting room that's available to the community, and there's usually no charge for that.
Okay. Any questions?
I think good.
Jump in.
Yeah, I just have a couple of comments. First of all, thank you for choosing Dutchess County, and thank you for choosing Town of Poughkeepsie for a new venture here. This property was really in bad shape at one time. Have you done any study? I understand there was a mechanic there or sells cars.
It was a florist.
I'm sorry?
It was a florist.
Was it a florist?
Yeah, it's next to that. You're right.
It was at the car dealership, right? The used car dealership?
There was a mobile home.
I've seen.
We actually have a couple of operating repair shops to the south of that.
Okay.
But the florist, at one point, the florist went away and he rented out parts of the spaces. There was a law firm in there and he had the back for storage.
I saw a cash for cars on an old photo.
Yeah, that came and went in about a month. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
The back area, they used to have some equipment in the back.
Yeah, there was some storage going.
There's still a metal building, storage building in the back part of that property on that residential district.
Okay.
Thank you. Good luck. Looking forward.
Thank you.
What's your busiest day of the week?
Friday and Saturday are the busiest days, and Sundays, and the weekends are really busy.
Okay.
I mean, we're very family-oriented, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday are the majority of our business.
I'd just like to add, I think it's great that you've paid attention to the code with the sidewalks in front, and
Correct.
and the rain garden is a good feature to minimize this for the stormwater. I would like to mention, you talked about the lighting, we try to keep the light spillage down to other sites and neighboring sites, which is why part of the human, and make it human scale for walkability. I'd encourage you to look into a couple connectivity issues to other sites. There could be possibly, behind the other hotel, like a vehicular or at least a pedestrian connection to your site, so the hotel traffic doesn't have to all go out on Route 9 and back in again if they're driving to your restaurant.
March 16th. Today's the 19th.
And there's some topography there, like that back parking lot goes up a bit, but I don't know how flat it is going across there. Something to examine. And also, I think maybe look into the possibility of a pedestrian connection to the apartment complex to the south, because that opens up a whole set of people that could walk from the apartments, as well as a lot of dense residential behind there that could get there without driving.
Okay, we can consider that.
Oh, we figured it was easier just to.
If I could, I'll just show that.
This is a first.
This is a preliminary lighting plan using 15-foot poles, LED fixtures, with the furthest ISO line is a 0.2, so we're less than 0.2 at the property line. Any other questions?
One thing I would just like to say, and that is from a corporate point of view, Golden Corral's going to build 20 stores this year, and 15 are going to be out west in California, and we're building very few out east right now. But Poughkeepsie, the town of Poughkeepsie, is one of those towns that Golden Corral really wanted to be in. We kind of prioritize all the cities we want to build in, and we do demographic modeling and all of that. And Poughkeepsie is really the kind of town that we feel fits our model, and it's our kind of people. It's family oriented. And we do very well in a town like the town of Poughkeepsie. And so we're really excited about the possibility of being here, and we look forward to working with you all. So
I think that what he really said was we'd like to eat.
that's what you do.
Okay.
You can tell from all the applicants tonight.
Well, apparently, from what I can see here, our planning department is very efficient, and they've already circulated the lead agency.
We still have to do them.
But we have to do it.
It was quite amazing, I thought.
I am amazed myself, actually.
I move that the planning board declare its intent to be lead agency to coordinate the environmental review of the proposed project as an unlisted action and authorize the planning department's March 16th, 2015 circulation of a notice of said intent, a copy of the EAF, and a copy of the application to the identified involved agencies.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we declare our intent to be lead agency based on what Rich just said, which we obviously are. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
I move that the planning board defer action on the site plan application pending establishment of lead agency and direct the applicant to respond to the following preliminary comments received from the town departments and agencies, including but not limited to those below, 1 through 7.
Okay.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we defer action on the site plan application pending establishment of the lead agency, which we've done, and direct the applicant to respond to the following preliminary comments received from town departments and agencies, not including but not limited to those below 1 through 7, and any comments of relevance we might have made this evening. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. You ready to?
Just a question, our deadline for the April meeting is on Monday. Are you guys going to be able to hit it with your data plans and all that?
We're making a submission for Monday.
Perfect.
So we'll see you in April.
Yes. Would April be the first date to set a public hearing if you are the lead agency at that time?
It could be.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, very good. Any other questions for them?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
Thank you. Welcome to Poughkeepsie. Let's see if we
Thank
can
you.
get this,
Thank
I'm looking forward to
get this
coming.
done. Yeah.
It's a magnet for all the food restaurants.
And we're a friendly town, and we try to encourage development. Tell your friends and neighbors. And if you know anybody's got a White Castle, we'd like that too. Okay.
Not in some neighbors, not same
Had to
neighbors.
bring that up.
We have people that reject, like, the 5 districts,
Oh, well.
I'd like to see a chicken delight.
Number 3, Taco Bell, 757 Main Street. Architectural review for cosmetic improvements and ADA compliance, 757 Main Street, zoned ATC, Arlington Town Center, 0.78 acres, type 2 action. Moy Properties, NELT Limited Owner, MUY. Where's your
Muy.
Muy? Okay, thank you.
Ah.
Sort of like muy bien.
Muy, okay, it's very, very taco-like. God, I had to say that, didn't I? Where'd everybody go?
They went to eat.
You know, I always find this frustrating. All these food guys come in and they never bring samples.
They do.
They never bring. Yeah, but you can't eat them.
Nobody wants something.
Bricks.
Something. Okay, so Taco Bell. Taco Bell. Okay.
So John, the whole reason for that is can't sell stuff.
Expecting the little dog would be here.
I was working for Collins, or they were aiming for April.
For a Chihuahua?
Yeah.
The Golden Corral. Yeah, okay. That's fine. I have no problem. I was just, but I read the data went.
Okay, I think I've been snookered here. Okay, that's good.
We're doing that. It's the first time I actually.
Remember, there was a guy that wanted to put
Redoing it.
slabs here years ago on the property. Is that the same property?
Oh, yes, yes.
The granite
Yeah,
guy?
he wanted to do the granite?
Yeah, same guy.
I made him run fucking window on the guy. Are you crazy?
Have you seen his place up in Kingston?
No. No.
It's kind of like the pictures you showed.
Then he was trying to go and sit at Poughkeepsie.
Yeah.
Shit, city's got little sense.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You are? My name is Jerry Kitzrow. I am with Mui Brands. And introducing Peter.
My name is Peter Glusko. I'm with Glusko Architects from Palmyra, Pennsylvania, 2866 Horseshoe Pike. And I'm here to represent Mui Brands.
Yeah, and I'd like to just tell you a little bit about Mui and what we're here to do. We're a restaurant ownership group, and we operate restaurants in various parts of the country, including big Pizza Huts in other areas, and Wendy's and Taco Bell's. And in this part of the country, in this region, we operate Taco Bell's in Newburgh, Kingston, Fishkill, and the one here in Poughkeepsie. So we've been doing business here in Poughkeepsie for a long time. I like to think we've been good citizens and done our job as far as providing lots of jobs and taxes and all those things. So part of being a group of our size is, as you look at the other people presenting tonight, everybody loves a new building, right? But eventually those buildings aren't new anymore. So for companies such as ours with buildings of different ages, it becomes a challenge to stay current and do our refreshes. So I'm pleased to say we were able to get our funds together to get a refresh approved from our company for the Poughkeepsie location. It's in a nice location right on Main Street that you may know. And we're looking forward to freshening it up, which will be great for our team that works there, and I think also for the customer base. It's cosmetic and efficiency. We're using all the existing footprint, which Peter will go through. And so we're looking forward to making those improvements.
The property is located in the Arlington Town Center Zone, and it's approximately 0.78 acres, plus or minus about 33,952 square feet. The project involves a new image, what we call new image cosmetic improvements and ADA compliance. And the exterior facade will be cosmetically improved to architecturally emphasize the entrance locations and include updated images of Taco Bell signage, slat walls, and new interior decor package. And it also includes new toilet rooms. The existing building is a wood-framed building, has a hip roof. It was built in 1992, and the township was gracious enough to have drawings available to us, which is a very important thing to have as an architect, to have existing site plans, existing drawings of the building when it was built. So it was originally a spaghetti factory type of restaurant. And then Taco Bell purchased it, and they renovated it into a Taco Bell, but kept the same footprint, same parking area, same entrance and exits. So, and then I think Mui bought the property last year. And the overall Taco Bell image upgrades is throughout the entire country. So this is one of the buildings that required an upgrade on the image, and this is one of the reasons why we're here, is because we want to make that fresh and new image for our customers and for the community. The improvements of the building will be as follows. We're looking at existing, it was 52 seats. This is going to have 58 seats. The existing square footage was 2,509 square feet. This modification cosmetically is going to be 2,623 square feet. We had to include a new cooler box replacement. And that was, the life expectancy of a cooler box is about 15 to 20 years. So that is why we're replacing it. We need a new cooler box. And in order for that cooler box to be more efficient, we had to extend it out the back a little bit. And it's about 2 to 3 feet more out the back of the building than it is currently. What I'd like to do is just kind of go over through the site plan. I'm sure that you folks had an opportunity to look at the site plans and all the plans we presented to you, so you know a lot about the building, and you know the building because it's in your community. So what I'd like to do is just kind of go over some of the factors. This is the existing site plan which we embellished to show what the building is currently, what we're proposing. The gray area is the parking area. You come in off of Main Street right here, and it's one-way traffic going through this way. It comes around, the drive-through stacks up here, and then this is the drive-through area. And then there's an exit here going out the back, and an entranceway from the back. Currently, the building is kind of, it has 2 entranceways inside the building structure. They have an entranceway on the side, and then they have an exit over here along the drive-through. And we felt that that was a very, not a real important thing to have, having our customers leave the building if they have to out the side where there's a drive-through lane. So what we're doing now is we're going to convert, we're going to block off that side entranceway at the drive-through, and we're going to reorientate the entranceway in front of the building right in the center, which is over here. This is the center of the building. It's in the front of the building. That's one of the main entranceways. And then on the side of the building, which is over here, this is a new side entranceway right here. So this side entranceway here is right there on the side. So we had to create a new little vestibule, which had to be ADA compliant. And then we also had to create this new entranceway in here, which is ADA compliant. And then we focused our signage. We only have one sign, and I think the comments that person had generated, they had mentioned something about square footage was very large. You know, it was a large sign. Actually, I think there was a typo in our plan which indicated 2 signs, and we just have one sign in the front because that's how I interpreted the ordinance. And that sign is 9.875 square feet. So that falls way below what the requirements are for the sign ordinance. So what we're doing is we're putting new windows in the front, new entrance door in the front, and side light. And on the side here, this is going to be a new side entranceway. There's an eyebrow canopy over here. And then these elements here, they're called slat walls. They go from the side here, and then they go on a drive-through side. And then in the front, they have 2 on each side of the tower. And that is this slatted wall right here. And this is what it looks like. It's kind of, it shows 5 horizontal slats. And what you think?
He's just doing that. That's the side. That's what the
Yes, this slatted wall system is designed, it has 5 slats going across, and in the center, they have LED lights, and it's like a track light of LEDs. And the LEDs, they're pretty cool because they're only little lights, and they're only about this long, and they're very narrow. So they emit not a lot of light, but they emit enough light that will backlight the back of these slats walls.
And they are where on the building?
They're right here in the front, and on the side, and on this side. Okay. And what happens here? This is the color of the ephes. Let me put it over here.
So I understand you're using the accent lighting to outline the building?
No, accent lighting is behind the slat wall. You won't even see the light. It's going to be behind that. It'll just illuminate this panel right here. This panel right here is the ephes underneath this part here.
Okay, but you're still outlining the building with that?
No, it's just one single light in one of the channels behind the slats.
Okay, but that channel lighting runs the length of the side of the building and on the other parts of it?
Yes. yes.
Okay, we have a code prohibition that sounds like you might be bumping up against. You should talk to Sarah Davis about that specifically.
And what do you, I don't understand is,
We have a prohibition against using lighting to outline the building. We see this sometimes, mostly like with diners, where they'll want to run the like neon around the
Around the
outside,
top,
around
the
the
parapet.
top, around the edges, around the eaves. You may very well be bumping up against that restriction. I think we're gonna need more information before we can go forward.
My understanding, excuse me, of the design is that it's only in those darker sections that you're running along the top. So it may be 1/3 of the entire building.
Yeah,
Is that
I'm not
blowing up? But
suggesting
we'll-
that's something you need a variance. I'm just suggesting that it's something we need to explore a little bit further going forward.
Of course, sure.
I'm not sure that we can approve tonight.
You could go forward with the architectural approval. If they need a variance, they need a
Yeah.
variance, yeah.
Yeah, I had suggested, I'm going to jump in here for a moment, because the submittal was coming in kind of late, and my discussion with Mr. Glusko was that they're also proposing a number of changes on this side as well with respect to the lighting, the fencing, the landscaping, but not to access or circulation or parking. So ordinarily, the planning board might take a look at some of those features, but in consideration of the fact that it's not really changing the site plan for the overall usage, nor the intensity of the use, nor some of the primary issues that are subject to site plan approval, I suggested to the applicant that we could proceed with an architectural review, and if the board was in agreement that we could delegate those elements of site plan review, they would qualify for an administrative review by staff if the board chose to do it that way. And you'll see in my very brief comment, I suggested that the board specifically delegate elements such as lighting,
Okay.
like we were just discussing, and fencing and parking changes.
I have no problem with that because it would help them
Yeah.
not have to come back to another meeting
Right.
and do a full site.
Because
plan.
they're on a tight
I
timeline,
understand,
and I figured
but
that would be.
You got to understand, you got a lot of work to do with staff to get some of these resolved. I mean, we're interested right now in what the building's going to look like, the colors, okay, how it's going to fit into the neighborhood, et cetera. Okay, bumping out the cooler box and lighting and that stuff, we can leave, if the board agrees, leave that to staff to make sure that, it conforms, right, to help you move this along. But right now, I want to concentrate on the architecture.
yes, yes. We weren't planning on doing anything to the roof. The only thing we're doing is we're going to cover the entire building with new ephes with these new colors.
Okay.
These are the colors. This is the banding around the base. And then this is this color right here, which is this area in here.
Is that a new national color scheme?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, I don't like it. It looks too dark.
They go with the earth tones with a hint of the purple.
Okay.
Yeah, we carried that color inside our dining room. We have a neutral color dining room, which has some really nice colors. They're very subtle, and I guess it complements our menu.
Right.
Our menu is very spicy and very, lightning, and having a neutral palette kind of cools the customer down a little bit. So this is the sign on the front of the building, and this panel right here is this panel here. And I wanted to mention this to you since you're concerned about the lighting. Our sign is elevated away from this panel. So the back side of the sign illuminates this whole panel behind the sign. So that's one of the themes of these buildings. It's not lighting directly in your face, it's backwashed lighting, and it's a subtle light. It's not a very intense light. And I hope that's it's a lot different than your neon lights or your lighting that you're saying around the perimeter of the top, because KFCs used to do that all the time. So we backed away from that. And we're not doing that anymore.
It'll be helpful to have some pictures with the lights on and for the zoning administrator to look at, even a
Sure.
video of a building.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be, would that be helpful?
In Fishkill, do you have the same lighting?
Yeah, Fishkill has not been remodeled yet. So, but we have had some recent builds and recent models that we've opened up in New Jersey that, first of all, the reaction has been terrific. So the public seems to really enjoy them. The towns have liked them, and we'll be happy to share some pictures of that.
That'd be good.
I mean, I think architecturally it looks good, the color schemes and such. I did have we talked about a couple of the minor site plan issues. Were you planning to address that fence that's kind of, the wooden fence, I think that's, is that
Yes.
yours? That's along the whole eastern side of the property?
Right.
Okay, because that's in the disrepair. And I would point, the other thing I wanted to point out, in being in Arlington Town Center area, we're trying to get the pedestrian tie-in with the code. And I think there'd be a good idea to get some kind of, I'm not sure if you need all the parking spaces right in the front there, but some kind of tie-in of to the sidewalk out front, to your new front door.
Yes.
Whether it's striping or a concrete walk or whatever, if you still, stripe it if you still need that circulation around, but you might want to consider even taking those parking spaces out for more landscaping in front, with the sidewalk coming in.
Well, I know
And,
when Peter first came up to visit the site, he identified it would be a terrific idea to tie in to the pedestrian and to the street better than the building is now.
Right.
So you have really a useless door that's exiting now right into the drive-through lane. And so Peter right away wanted to put a door up front, and perhaps we could put a striped walkway out to the street. I think that would look good and it'd be just a friendlier presentation.
Yeah, that's that's a big improvement. I mean, if you look at the, down the street at the McDonald's or the Wendy's, they don't have the parking in front, but they have the connectivity mostly. And the other thing that we're adding is small bike racks to these buildings, because there's a lot of bicycle traffic in the city, so if you find a spot for that.
Can I ask you a quick question? On the demolition, you have two notes here. Let's see, note 6 and,
did she?
get my,
Yes.
note 6 and note 19, where you're moving existing sidewalk.
Yes.
Why are you removing the sidewalk? Is it because that's the door that leads to nowhere, or?
That's right in front of the, you're talking about, on the side of drive-through, yes.
There's one on the west side and one on the east side
Yeah,
of the
there's a
building.
door that's exit the dining room. That's going to be removed. So we don't
Okay, so
really
that's
need
the-
that.
To put the door
So
in
that's
front-
just
in
going to go
front
back to
instead,
being
yeah.
a gravel area or a landscaped area.
And on the west side, or I guess it would be the east side, you're also removing, that's just because it's not being utilized at all?
Yeah, I just reverted that back to natural landscaping.
And there's no entrance in that area? and-
There's a entranceway right in this area, right there on the side.
Uh-huh.
That's where it picks up.
But you have pedestrian access to that entrance?
Yes, people are just going to come across here and go right in the side door.
Okay.
And then if they want to go around the front of the building, they can go around the front of the building. But this will be a handicap parking over here. We moved it down a little bit lower because I was having some issues with the accessibility to the front door and the clearances that were required. So I moved the sloping sidewalk right here, and that goes up and up. So that's the reason why I did that.
So no access will be diminished as a result of you removing those?
No,
Yeah,
not
okay.
at all. Thank you.
Any other comments on the architecture aspect? Is the board okay with staff reviewing and going through some of the minor structural changes and what have you of the building?
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I just had a question. Do you have any, we noticed the zoning administrator also mentioned the parking in front. Did you have any thoughts on the parking in front, keeping it, removing it, or?
No, we're going to keep that. I think it's very important to have that.
So I think it's a good, as a business person, we like having some visibility of showing some cars out there, and that's helpful. I could see perhaps we could reduce
I mean,
it by some spaces, but we would like to keep keep it as at least part of it.
Or at least one space to get the sidewalk.
Yeah,
or
I'd be open to
crosswalk
that.
up.
I mean, I go by there, I rarely see a lot of cars in the Taco Bell. I mean, sometimes I wonder myself, how do they stay in business?
Right.
So obviously, most of your business
Well,
is through the drive-through.
Well, the bulk of the parking is in the back also, so.
But yeah, I mean, you have it on the
just-
side,
just-
that'll be showing.
So,
off
and,
the
and, ju-
street.
and just to your perception is sometimes if people don't see the cars, they don't think it. So we do like the idea of having some type of
But
presentation.
it'd be nice to
there.
have a little more landscaping in the front, and, I mean, you mentioned natural landscaping, I'm
Right.
not quite sure what that is, but we'd like to beef that up without hiding your building, okay, to, you know,
Right.
to make it look
Right.
nicer
I
and,
mean, an additional street tree would be nice in
Yeah.
that area as well.
okay, we can work with staff on that,
Okay,
so.
great.
Okay. Looks all right to me. I just move that we accept the architecture as presented with the colors and textures and what have you, and they'll work out the,
As Connor commented upon.
pardon me?
As commented upon.
As commented upon, correct.
Okay.
And to work with staff on some of the other issues and the zoning administrator on potentially the lighting
Okay.
and that kind of thing. So call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Great.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
I've sat in front of a lot of boards, and it's been a pleasure seeing you folks operate tonight. You communicate well. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Jerry, do you have,
Tell our
Carol
bosses
get
we'll get a raise.
contact information? Did Carol get your, our clerk, did she get your contact information? Would you do that? Thank you.
No, they're not. We're good. Go. You're good. We're good. Okay, Spins Bowling Family Entertainment Center, 47 Taft Avenue, architectural review for exterior improvements to existing bowling alley facility to rebrand and upgrade the facade, 47 Taft Avenue, Zone BH Business Highway, 4.251 acres, type 2 action, Diamond Properties, Inc., Diamond Properties owner. Hello. Okay. Bridget, I gotta take it.
Yep.
Hi, good evening. I'm Sam Gardner with GWG Architects, 151 East Street, New Haven, Connecticut. And I'm here with Bill Diamond from Diamond Properties. They're based in Mount Kisco. We are here before you to gain approval for our upgrade to the facade. I think I wanted to, we received a lot of comments just the other day from the various reviewers, and during the presentation, we'll respond to them. But I wanted Bill to kind of review for you what a Spins Bowling Family Fun Center is, okay?
Sure. Well, as Sam mentioned, I'm with Diamond Properties. I'm one of the founders and co-owners of Diamond Properties. We're a commercial real estate group in the tri-state area. We have about just under 50 properties, about 3.5 million square feet. We have commercial real estate is our primary business, but we have some side business, one of which is this sort of entertainment side of things, bowling alleys, go-kart tracks. And so what we're doing here is we have a model of acquiring traditionally old-school bowling alleys, bowling centers that predominantly rely on league play. And we upgrade those facilities and convert them more into family entertainment centers, where we expand the offering from just traditional bowling into something with a few other activities like laser tag, go-kart racing. This one will not have go-kart racing on the inside, and redemption game rooms, and improved food and beverage experience, and just sort of transition the center from just being a league center into something more geared toward families. And there's sort of a evolution happening in the bowling industry now where the successful bowling companies are going one of two ways. One way is kind of target the urban environment, targeting more sort of a nightclub feel in a bowling center, or the other niche, which is what we're focused on, is more of a family entertainment center and more of a suburban market.
Okay, just to review for you the specific upgrades that we're proposing. On the lower left-hand corner, you see what this, the bowling alley looks like presently, with some quaint painting on the outside. It's a very large facade. The building itself is just about an acre in size. We are going to repaint two of the, let's call them the public facades of the building, which would be the parking lot and along Taft Avenue. And we're going to add some awnings over the entrances. These are canvas awnings. They're not illuminated. That was one of the comments that came back to us. They are not internally illuminated. And then just at the center, now, unfortunately, it is a very long facade, and I broke the elevations into 1, 2, 3 pieces. At the very top, you see a key drawing that shows you the entire length of the facade. The main entrance would be the lower left. Let me help you. I'll guide you because we've broken into pieces. Piece of history. It's okay. This is the corner.
Two main entrances.
This is the Taft side of the building right here. There are 2 entrances. They're going to receive colored canvas awnings. This is the color we're proposing. And then the signage will reside at this corner of the building. It'll miss the lighting pole that's there.
Absolutely.
And then the main color, the body of the building is going to be this warm gray. And then to give it a little character, we're going to use wooden pallets that are stained like tile and apply them in a pattern along the front of the facade. The lighting is gooseneck, so it's really just illuminating the building and not the site. And this is an example here. It's a galvanized, finished gooseneck, kind of a industrial style facade, lighting fixture. I brought some samples of inspiration photos. I know you guys can't see it. Would it be useful for me to bring it close so you can see it closer? Good. Just some examples we found of where pallets were used for facade elements. They look like screens.
Yeah.
Wood.
Reminds me of IKEA.
So maintenance, since they're going to be painted, generally pallets are pine.
Right.
Do you have a history of the type of maintenance that's required?
I don't, but they're really going to be an exterior stain so it would be like any pine wood.
Have to be refreshed.
It would have to be refreshed. Here, I'll give these guys over here a shot.
Yep.
This is what we're proposing.
As far as fire resistant, you spray something on this pallet, so it's just going to be exposed like that.
It's exterior stain. It's like any wood siding.
Yeah.
Fire code doesn't require it to be rated.
Sorry?
Never seen that before.
That'll help break up the whole long look of the building.
Yeah, the long
it is
facade.
They've got some drawings on there now, bowling pin or whatever, but it's.
And then I just wanted
it's a
to
long
address
building.
some of the comments that came back to us in the reviews. One of the things was we did remove from the drawings the outdoor seating area, and because we understand that has to be brought forward as a site plan review. So I have revised drawings for this submission that takes them off out of the submission, okay? They asked us to paint the FDC connection and make it more apparent, the fire connection, so we did address that in the plan. Also, they asked us to, there's the alarm and the FDC connection. It's going to be, right now it's painted the same blue color of the building, so you can't really see where it is. So it'll really pop, is the point. And they asked us to put, real numbers on the building to identify the address.
Let's see, the 911 thing likes that.
Yeah.
Do you own the building, the property?
Yeah, our model is we always own the real estate, yeah.
Okay. Do you also own the one in Wappingers as well?
We acquired that along with this, and we also acquired the one in Carmel as well.
Oh, great. Nice.
So we're going to be revamping all of them, one after the other.
I think that was it. We had, in the submission that's in front of you, we had put some letters on the awning, just sort of saying, identifying the activities. But again, in the review, it was identified that that's something that has to go through a signage approval. So for the sake of this submission, we took it off the drawing.
It's sort of an industrial chic look is the look we're going for. Warm, yet, minimal.
Industrial chic?
Yeah, that's a
Learning
term
a lot of
now.
new terms tonight. Natural landscaping, industrial chic.
So that worked?
Sam, out of curiosity, is the exterior use of the pallets on the wall as an architectural feature, are there any issues? We didn't get any comments back from the building department. Have you any communications with them about compliance with fire codes?
No, there was no review comment regarding that.
Okay, because I don't know if it's an issue or not. We didn't get a comment in time for this meeting.
What would change with respect to the fire code?
I don't know, I'm just.
It wouldn't really be the fire code, it would be the building code in terms
Yes.
of flammability of
Right.
materials. This type of
exterior,
construction
so-
doesn't require fire-rated materials on the
Right.
exterior of a building.
mean,
It could be
current-
wood. I could clad this entire building with wood. I think what they're probably going to question me about is just how it's connected, how it's attached to the
Right,
building,
so
and
it
it
doesn't
doesn't go
fall off.
flying off in a wind. So we'll address that, just like we will with the awnings.
The current material of the building is just like a concrete block, or?
It's all concrete,
It's
yeah.
concrete block.
Yeah.
It's,
And I assume whatever you're doing here is not going to preempt a future addition of a
What do you call it?
beer garden or something in that nature.
the outdoor seating.
Faux industrial, what do you call it?
We're still anticipating it
Industrial
with the
chic.
design, so we're going to come back with a site plan submission.
Chic,
Yeah, I know chic. Industrial chic kind of sounds.
You never heard of that term?
No.
It's a pretty
It's
common.
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
It's Brooklyn. Oh, well, okay.
It's moving up from the.
Everybody
the
has
Bronx.
their roots in Brooklyn, so,
I mean, maybe nice to, when you come back and have to include some landscaping that, the,
Okay, what the heck?
you see over those kind of facilities
I don't have a
sometimes.
problem with it.
Oh, I mean, like,
The strings of lights,
Take it over. Do something.
that kind of thing.
oh, I see what you're saying, yes.
Just
Shut people up.
I mean,
Okay.
like a trellis type thing with lighting on it.
yeah.
I think we're good.
Yeah, just as a point of reference for the information for the board, so the proposal in front of you tonight is for architectural review of the building exterior. We specifically excluded from our review the outdoor beer garden, because that's in fact specifically a site plan feature.
Right.
There is also a comment from the zoning administrator with respect to the arcade use inside of the building.
That's not-
That's not subject to planning board review,
Right.
architectural review tonight. That's a discussion they'll need to have with the zoning administrator with respect to permitted uses.
Yep.
Right,
Understand.
and
And then we are also looking, I think we're recommending that the board condition any approval on some lighting information details that we don't yet have.
Okay.
Okay, I move that we grant architectural approval for the proposed exterior alterations to the building, excluding outdoor seating area, subject to the following items being addressed prior to issue of a building permit. And that's A through I.
Second.
Okay. Been moved and seconded, we approve the proposed exterior alterations to the building, excluding the outdoor seating area, subject to the following items to be addressed prior to issuance of a building permit. A through I. And any relevant comments that you made note of? Okay? And that covers it, I think. Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Call a question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
I just see we have a note here to advise the applicant that the proposed outdoor seating area, beer garden, and other site alterations and improvements shall be subject to separate site plan application and should address the following issues, A through H.
And he's got that.
Okay.
And he acknowledged that with respect to the
Yeah.
arcade and the
That's correct.
the outdoor seating area.
I mean, right now, the outdoor seating area is in the traffic lane, so that.
Right, we'd have to
Traffic
revise
circulation
that
has to
whole
be
thing,
revised
yeah.
and such.
Yeah.
And we'll be happy to, when you're ready to come forward with a site plan, give us a call. We're happy to sit down with you and work out things that'll make things run smoothly.
Good. Nice to see the building getting upgraded and chic, shabbily.
And you're right, I mean, I think having some other things going on in,
Get it right.
like bowling and so forth would be nice.
And to go with the spirit of the evening, you guys really are the best looking planning board that I've ever seen. Thank you.
And if we believe that, then.
I know tomorrow's the first day of spring, but hey,
Sam, is this yours?
It's supposed to snow.
Okay, number 5, Burger King, 621-645 Dutchess Turnpike, architectural review for the building renovations. 621-645 Dutchess Turnpike, Zone B, SC Business Shopping Center, 20.92 acres, type 2 action, BVS Poughkeepsie LLC owner.
But you guys are getting to be sort of lonely.
Good evening.
Industrial chic of a baby of a different different.
Yeah. Are you from Brooklyn?
I actually originally am from Brooklyn, and I've never heard that term, but.
Okay.
So, I'm here representing, I'm Mike Lee Simone from Lend Lease. I'm representing Carroll's Corporation for Burger King. We're here for architectural review for the remodel. It's basically just an upgrade to the existing building. We're not changing any footprint. The entrances are staying where they are. The parking lot is staying, it's just being restriped and resealed. And the information you have in front of you. I will also like to hand out an existing building that we actually renovated. That's the same exact style of this building architecturally, and it actually shows a completed project. So if it
The
has,
same as the one we have down on Route 9 in Vassar Road?
it's a little bit different. That's a different design. This one actually is one of the sites that has the same building design. I only have 5 copies, so if we guys can spread it out. There are color copies there showing what the exterior will be. It's hardy board on the outside as well as hardy plank panels. The towers that you see in the black color there are the archons, we call them. And those are the towers that stand up where the doors, the drive-through windows, as well as the main entrance is. There's a red tile that's actually in the corner. That is a frost-proof ceramic tile. Okay. Basically, that's it. We're just really changing finishes and upgrading the building so it looks a little nicer in the area. I don't really have a term for it, but this is the national brand that Burger King is doing across the nation.
You know, one issue we had with the one issue I had with the one on Route 9 was they had the parapet on 3 sides, and then we could see the HVAC through the back. So
Yeah, there's a
so they
parapet
went
all
back-
around this
they
time,
Went
yeah.
back and fixed that.
Yeah, and
Okay.
yeah, this one's all around the building.
Okay,
So,
good.
because where it is in proximity to the mall there, the rest of the stores,
just wanna make
this
sure
actually
it's
goes
not-
all around. But in answer to that question, we did want to address that. If the mechanical system is visible from any of the items, we definitely will put a screen around it to your satisfaction. So,
Yeah, that's kind of a town thing we do.
no, it's fine.
Keep it-
Actually, we've
keep it
run into that
shielded.
in some of the other towns that we've done work in, not necessarily, in this area, but in some of the other states, they've required that too. So that's not a problem. We will put that in if it can, if it's
Generally,
visible.
we encourage peaked roofs even, but we understand that.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a flat roof,
There's
so.
different
Yeah.
models of the chain.
Okay, and that's pretty much it. And the pictures I showed you are interior and exterior, just to give you an idea of what the look is going to be like. When we built these before in the other areas, they got great reception. People really like the new look. And
everybody said that.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be good.
You
I
mentioned
guess
they're going to seal and stripe the parking lot. Parking lot, especially with the part where you drive in, it needs to be repaved.
It will be. They're going to be doing quite a bit of work there. There's quite a bit of site work to be done.
That'll
That's
be part of
the project.
the plan, that they're going to.
Okay, that's one of my main questions.
That's part of our project.
The strange entryway, the way you get in there, that's got some big potholes.
Yeah, those are going to be taken care of.
That's gonna
We
be
already
taken
have
care of.
that in our budget to
And there's
fix.
some old landscaping too that's kind of dead in that area.
And we
where
have
parking
we have a
is.
budget there for that, to redo some of that landscaping. While we're on the topic of landscaping, the corporation asked me to bring something forward to you if it would be possible. The pylon sign that's in the front of the, on Dutchess Turnpike, you don't have a picture of it there, but I do have a picture of it here I took, and you can spread this out. 2 photos, actually, may I approach?
Yes.
Bring the, if you talk, bring the mic, if you guys.
I just, go back here so you can hear it, and it's on record.
I mean, there's-
The photo I just gave you basically shows, obviously, it's winter time there, and you don't see the leaves on the trees, but they requested that the 2 trees on either side either be removed, and we'll replace them with smaller ones, so the sign can be seen, because in the time when the foliage is out, it's very difficult to see the sign from either side of the roadway. So that was a request that,
Where's the picture?
he's got it right down there. Shooting down.
This is the original 90.
I don't remember. I'm so excited to go to Burger King, I didn't notice the tree.
I'm glad I mean, you have the brick walkway, it seems to be in pretty decent shape, connecting into the sidewalk. So you tend to leave that as is?
Yeah, there's one thing we're going to be doing with the sidewalk at the front entrance, where the ADA spaces are right now currently. They're going to remain there, and what we are going to do is just put a new curb cut ramp in the same location.
Can those trees be trimmed?
It's possible they can be trimmed, but they will grow back. They were just asking if we could remove those 2 trees on either side, not all of them, but just the ones on either side of the pylon.
Are they located on private property or in the public right-of-way?
You know, it's actually on the same plot that the pylon sign is, and I'm not really sure if that's public
Because
property.
if it's the state highway, we can't authorize it.
Oh, no, that's fine. I would just bring it up. We'll
You know
find
what?
out
Why
if it
don't
is.
you work with staff on that issue to
Yeah.
see if we can come up with a.
Yeah, like I said, that's a separate request, so
Yes,
we
all right,
can
that's
talk
fine.
to them
Staff
about that.
will work with
yeah.
you on that.
Okay.
I mean, and probably, you might have heard me mention on other,
Sorry.
you might have heard me mention other restaurants along Main Street there.
You know, it may not be the trees that are your problem.
What's that? The telephone pole? Yeah, I
Why don't
know.
you remove all
I
the
saw
phone
that.
poles and
Sorry.
sign stanchions?
That they're
We'll do
putting
that
small,
first
just putting small bike racks in because there's a lot of bike traffic in the area usually. You might want to look what they did at McDonald's. They just put a pad there with a little rack, but see if there's a spot for that out front maybe in the.
Okay. I don't think that'll be a problem for the corporation to do that.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
But it'd be great to see it upgraded.
Yes.
yeah, it's going to look nice when it's
I move
done.
that the planning board grant conditional architectural review approval according to the renderings and materials as presented, subject to the following, 1 through 4.
And some of the comments.
And comments from the board.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded, the planning board grant conditional architectural review subject to, according to the renderings and materials provided, and subject to the following 1 through 4 and the comments that were made this evening with respect to various different issues.
Understood.
And call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Sorry you had to wait so long.
Not at all.
Okay, here we go. Let's rock and roll. Town board referral from zoning amendment to section 210-67.1 energy facilities. Recommendation of the town board regarding proposed amendments to the regulation of solar and wind energy systems. Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, this is an amendment that came about as a result of, we actually had
There's some here.
some interest on the part of some homeowners in the R20 district to install some of these smaller windmill facilities. We actually had one, went and put it up without permits. He's now taken it down. But that's most of what prompted the changes is to allow them in the R20 zone and the BN zone, but limit the size of the the diameter of the blades. And it could either be the ones that are set on the horizontal or on the vertical, to no more than 6 feet, and they would be limited to the height of the district in the city of Poughkeepsie. So that was what prompted it, but we also started looking at some of the other standards for the some of the ground-mounted solar facilities. We do not permit them in the front yard. Carl has a picture of one that's actually on Beechwood Avenue that's located in the city of Poughkeepsie. We've all seen it. It's hideous. I can't believe the owner did it, but that installation would not be permitted in the town. It needs to be behind actually, we clarified the regulations to not only require them in the side yard or the rear yard, but behind the front building
And they have to be
line
screened from the sun.
and screened. And we beefed up the language for screening. So, we had some people that came in, received approval for backyard installations, and the stuff that got planted for screening were these little, 2 and 3 foot high bushes. That's not what you told us you were going to do. So we've had some issues relative to enforcement on that, but that's what a lot of this is sort of cleaning up and beefing up the standards based on the experience, but also to allow these smaller windmills within the R20 and the BN.
Has anybody ever looked into how many birds the windmills kill?
No,
They will.
No, that wasn't part of my charge.
I guess.
I can tell you though, the small windmills, I mean, you're basically trickle charging a battery. I mean, you do not generate a lot of electricity from these things. But the other thing too is that you find you really need to have them set back hundreds of feet. They've got these algorithms, basically tell you, based on the elevations of, let's say, an intervening structure or trees, how far back you would need to have these things. Prevailing wind is running from, A to B, and you've got a stand of trees 80 feet high, you've got a windmill
Yeah,
at
that's
50.
going to block the wind.
What's happening is the wind is hitting the trees, and it's not coming back down to ground level for, 500 feet. So, these are almost in a way sort of hobbyists to my mind, but
But I can tell you from experience, they make lots of noise. So.
Yeah, we have a requirement in there about meeting our standards and our noise.
I would not recommend in the town of Poughkeepsie unless you live in far away and you don't have no neighbors around there. That's the only way.
I did want to bring that up, because you specifically use language of prohibited, but there are, I don't know if that can be reworded, because there are some large lots that, somebody has a 5-acre lot and it's all wooded around, no neighbor's going to ever see it. What's it matter if they put a solar panel in their front yard or, even those wind things are, sometimes you're not thinking of a big windmill, but now they got things that just rotate almost like a.
Right, their blades are,
Just like little vertical blades and spin around like that. So,
Yeah, but that's
so they're, 2 feet high, not 20 feet high.
Right.
So the language that says prohibited, I don't know if that could be.
We wouldn't prohibit that style. I mean, the idea is that we could accommodate, the ones that were traditional, where the blades are spinning this way.
That's.
I mean, we don't favor one over the other.
Some that are almost like a wind speed.
Kind of almost, yeah.
Was there any
And they don't provide a lot of power, but.
discussed at our field trip, are there any specific changes any of you gentlemen would like to see incorporated? Peter?
I guess the only thing I wanted, where it says the solar is prohibited in the front yard, if there is somebody has a 5-acre lot, does it really matter?
I mean, that's.
It's just gonna prevent them from putting something in there.
I don't even know how to word it to.
Which one was, what section is that, Carl?
Right on page 2 toward the bottom. Ground mounted says facilities are prohibited in any front yard.
Which is the language today, right?
Page 2.
Saying if that's where their sun is, they have a huge lot and there's no neighbors ever gonna see it. Does that stop them from putting it in?
If I read this correctly.
I mean, not a lot of the lots.
If I read this correctly, it wouldn't stop them from putting it in. It would only require that they come to the planning board for site plan approval to do so.
And a variance.
And a variance.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's additional hoops. If they can prove their case, they might obtain the variance.
That sounds agreeable then.
But again, I'm
Didn't
not
want
going to
to
try to word craft it to.
Didn't want to outright.
No, you did. Carve out an exception, so we're,
To follow up on what Neil had to say, I looked at several different sources, including
The sun.
the MIT, the National Climate Data Center, which is the division of the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. And there was a really good report that was issued by, believe it or not, Consumer Reports about home residential. The general rule of thumb for placing wind turbines is that the bottom tip, the tip of the bottom blade should be at least 30 feet above any obstruction, including trees, buildings.
Yep.
Now, the way that this statute is written, it could be no taller than the height of the residential building in that particular zone, which in most parts of the town is 35 feet. According to the science, and I'm not a scientist, I've just read these articles, for the optimum height for a residential wind-powered device would be 65 feet. And should not have any obstruction within, as Neil was saying before, within 500 feet. Now there's a provision in here for screening. Now, what is the point of screening a windmill, a wind-driven device? And really, and what, my other question would be, what would you use? What could you possibly utilize that's 35 feet high? So what I'm suggesting here is that, I mean, most of the things with the solar panels, I mean, I think we generally could live with. But I think that the ordinance as it applies to the wind turbines, the ordinance has to match the science. And I think right now, if we were to make a recommendation, I would like to make the recommendation, the solar panels, okay, generally. But I think there's some homework that has to be done as far as the wind turbines are concerned, if you believe the science. And the science seems to point that 35 feet is not sufficient height for wind turbine. And any higher than that certainly is going to be even more obtrusive.
And how do you screen something 60 feet high?
You can't.
Well, the science says,
Right.
you need no obstruction within 500 feet, and the tip of the bottom blade should be at least 30 feet above any obstruction.
Right,
So about the other place to put one is Peach Hill.
Yeah, and you need at least 1 acre of land. They said that's optimal.
That makes sense.
I mean, there's still some farms in the town.
Can we look at a
Sometimes.
positive recommendation for the solar and a negative, or can we defer on the wind?
well, no, I mean, it's a package, they're going to vote on the whole thing. But what you might want to do is to make your recommendation for whatever change.
With the language.
Make on those other sections, or for continued study on the matter.
I would say continue the study because it doesn't match the science.
Okay.
And then there's different types.
Why don't we table it?
With the small rooftop ones.
And the thing of it is that the
Got the public
restriction you're
hearing
gonna put
set.
on them makes them worthless.
So Neil, we can.
Well, it's not our fault.
We
Well, then
can,
they can delay the public
Not
hearing.
authorize them at all.
yeah, we could say that the solar panel's fine, but it will not approve for the windmill. We can not divide that, because there are two different type of energy consumed.
If I could make a recommendation, the public hearing was set for April 1st, as I'm, probably take action, maybe they might defer it. You can ask for additional time to study. You could also make a recommendation in favor, but essentially say to the town board, we have identified some issues relative to the science in matching up with the regulations.
Without a doubt.
And the board can then, on its own, can study them out further. I mean, Eric and I would be happy to dig into it. I mean, I agree with, there's some elements of, because I've done the research as well, some of the similar that you've looked at. And if you want to make your own independent recommendation at some later point in time, we're not bound by, a timing issue here.
Well, if they have the public hearing on April 1,
Yeah.
can they adjourn the public
They
hearing?
could, sure, yeah. Yeah. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, I
Or
was
could we
asking,
suggest they adjourn the public hearing? You could.
you could
Pen-
allow, and give
pending
yourself
we
some
do some
additional time.
research.
Sure, sure.
Further study.
Sure.
Why don't we do that?
It sounds fine.
Another month isn't going to make or break.
I don't think so.
As long as we're, I had one other item, and that is regarding the solar panels. Number 2, ground-mounted SES facilities. Number 2, E, which addresses the screening, and it uses a combination of fencing, evergreen, and deciduous plantings. I think if you were going to have it screened, you'd want to have it year-round, and a deciduous plant certainly would not qualify as a year-round screen. So I would suggest, that the deciduous plantings be deleted, because they're not going to provide screening 9 months out of the year, or at least 10.
Yeah.
No, I mean, for 3 months out of the year, they're not going to provide screening,
Well, probably more than that, but yeah.
at least.
Okay, optimistically speaking.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, everybody's talking about the windmill itself. I don't know if it would have any effect. What about the turbine in the ground? This thing is gonna.
Well, that's the question about the noise. The smaller, I think my reading is that the noise is more prevalent or more of an issue for the larger installations. The information I have about the smaller ones where you've got, the tip to tip on the blades, you're in the 5-6 range. I mean, the noise is less. But if it's not maintained, and if it's not, if the parts aren't lubricated, if they're not taken care of in the manner that they're supposed to, over time, they can certainly generate additional noise. And if you're in close proximity, you'll hear them.
It's recommended semi-annual maintenance, generally.
Yeah.
How do you enforce it?
And there's another issue here also, and that is sufficient in our area. The National Climatic Data Center provided average wind speed for the Poughkeepsie area. Bare minimum speed requirement for most residential units is about 10 miles per hour sustained average. In the Poughkeepsie area, it was about 10.5, but the National Climatic Data Center cautions readers that these tests were taken at an elevation of 164 feet. And that at that height, the average wind speed is considerably sustained at a much higher than it is at ground level.
No structures, there's,
Unobstructed.
So we need taller towers
Yes.
to take
taller.
take advantage. Yeah.
Well, that's why the big wind turbines are.
That's why you got to live on a mountain
But
or something.
or out west,
So how do we fashion our motion?
Quickly.
A request for additional time to respond.
Okay.
And in order to do so, you've got between now and your next meeting is the public hearing, a request for consideration of adjournment of the public hearing.
Yeah, that sounds good. We got a second?
And in the interim, we can work up.
So we're saying that we need some additional time to make some changes or recommendations.
Yeah,
And
we want the
so
ordinance to
town board
match the
to-
science.
Pardon me?
The ordinance has to match.
Has to match the science, okay, we can put that in there. And that we request the town board to,
Grant the additional time. We've got 45, I forget what was the day of the referral?
March 11th?
Yeah, it's 45 days from the
No,
date.
March 4th. Is that the one on town board on March 4th?
Okay, so okay, so let's count it from the 5th, actually. So the code give the planning board 45 days to render a recommendation.
Okay.
So we're not to the 45 days, but we will be by the time of the public hearing, or we'll be there somewhere actually after that.
We could still be
Ask
within
for
the 45
additional
days
time.
at our next meeting.
April
Yes,
16th.
but right, to extend, so the motion would be that a request to the town board to grant the planning board some additional time to consider its recommendation, which you would then take up at the April, whatever meeting.
16th?
April 16th.
April 16th meeting, and in order to do so, you're also asking the town board then to adjourn the April 1st public hearing
Until sometime after that.
Yeah, which would be their May meeting, because they meet on the 15th, which is the day before you meet in April.
45
Right.
days? Is that within 45 days?
Yeah, the 45 days is going to be like the second or third week of that month. I didn't do the math.
Okay, so we should be all right. So that'll work. 45 days from March 4th?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to report your,
April.
you'll be able to
Be
give
around the
them
19th.
on April 17th, right? I mean, we're going to work something up for you guys for the next meeting.
Right.
Talk about it, and you'll vote on it at the April 16th meeting.
Yes.
We'll give it to the clerk on the 17th.
Okay.
So moved, what he said.
So moved.
Second of the so moved.
Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Carol got all that.
And Eric's got it too.
Of course, you know, the reason that these things are economically viable is because we subsidize.
And that doesn't necessarily mean the town board will go along with our request, but one can
A lot
only
of
hope.
guys are out there building
Right?
their own.
Yep.
It's like the
And I don't think there's any rush there shouldn't be any rush to get this thing done. Another
tired IBMers.
month and a half isn't gonna, get a better product. I think that makes sense. So, okay, good. Thank you, guys. Okay, time extension, McKee, construction, extension of architectural review, needed approval for modification of to the smaller northern one of two existing buildings for construction business consisting of office space, sales, and storage, 2264 to 2270 South Road, Zone BH Highway Business, 3.36 acres, architectural approved March 20th, 2014, Town Center Poughkeepsie LLC owner. Okay.
I move that the planning board grant a 6-month time extension for the architectural review approval from March 20th forward to September 20th, 2015.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded that the planning board grant a 6-month time extension of architectural review approval from March 20th, 2015 forward to September 20th, 2015. Call a question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
How's the construction going?
Good. I was gonna say, this is the first time anybody ever got up here and never said anything was approved. Was it?
Oh, no, it's not.
No?
Long night.
All right.
It didn't require anything on your part because it's kind of a.
Oh, all right. All right.
I'm sorry you had to wait that long.
It's always good
okay.
to see you, John.
That's all right. Yeah, no, it was fun. I couldn't imagine being with a better group of people.
Tonight, this is great.
Everybody complimented you this tonight. It was.
I mean, that's like unheard of.
Not
Yeah.
everybody.
It's not
Almost everybody. The ones that really wanted something.
We got off on a little bit of a bad note. Anyway,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not going to go into that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 3, D3 Mountain View Estates subdivision, time extension for proposed 8-lot subdivision. Bedell Road zoned R-A4 residence, single family, 4 acres, 64.06 acres. Final subdivision approved with additions, January 17, 2013, Mountain View Realty LLC owner. Planning Department recommends the planning board grant a 90-day time extension of final major subdivision approval from April 13th, 2015 forward to July 12th, 2015.
How come they can't get the subdivision?
I think he's having issues securing a bonding for the road,
Financing.
the financing.
In that case.
Yeah.
So moved what he just said for the recommendation.
Second.
Okay, so moved and seconded, we grant a 90-day time extension, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Springside Neighborhood Development, Planning Department recommends a 90-day time extension of conditional minor subdivision and lot line revision approval from April 7th, 2015 forward to July 6th, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. All space self-storage, Planning Department recommends the planning board grant a 90-day time extension of amended site plan approval from March 20th, 2015 forward to June 18th, 2015.
This is the pages, right?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
I won't hold
Opposed?
it against him.
Motion carries 6-0.
Give him another two.
Okay, now, anything else? I think we're done. We're done. That's it. Gentlemen, thank you.
Here, sir.
I move we
I move that we
terminate the meeting.
terminate the meeting.
Second.
Been moved and seconded by Ben. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Where are we gonna go eat?